Chapter 779, 30 Years of Hard Work, Xiahou Wuwa Strikes. However, Xiahou Wuwa was well prepared. He suddenly appeared behind the man in the purple robe, his expression icy, holding a black great axe, with dark spiritual light surging from it. He chopped down, blocking any escape. Boom! S.E.A. The Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Caught in a pincer attack, the black ghostly light engulfed the purple lightning, causing a massive explosion in the sky. A moment later, the figure of the man in the purple robe was faintly visible within the black light. His hair and beard were disheveled, his face pale and tinged with black, his lightning armor was tattered and worn, he looked very ragged. Kill! Xiahou Wuo's face was ashen and stiff, his voice resonating like the clash of metal, giving the man in the purple robe no chance to catch his breath, continuing the assault alongside the dark demon corpse. Faced with such an attack from both a person and a corpse, the man in the purple robe had no means of defense or blockage, and within a few exchanges, he was smashed into pulp by the dark demon corpse's fists. Qingyun sect. Xiahou Wuo's expression was grim, his eyes glowing crimson as he collected the body before him. Go to. He then, together with the dark demon corpse, flew directly towards the stronghold. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During this time, Lu Changsheng's wives had become pregnant again. And a child with a 4th-grade spiritual root was born. Unknowingly, my Lu family is now also brimming with geniuses. Lu Changsheng held the newborn baby, feeling emotional in his heart. Since awakening the memories of his past life at Qingyun sect and activating the system, exactly 30 years have gone by. Through 30 years of effort, he now had a total of 178 children. 49 of these children had spiritual roots. Among these 49 children, there was one with a 2nd-grade spiritual root, one with a 3rd grade, 3 with 4th grade, 5 with 5th grade, and 5 with 6th grade. Moreover, there were 3 with spiritual bodies. Such talented descendants, when compared to any cultivation family in the surrounding area, were enough to be proud of. What's more, all these children were from him alone. Once these children grew up, such deeds were likely to be recorded in the history of Jianghu country's cultivation realm. 30 years have passed in glory, I've achieved a small measure of success. Lu Changsheng was quite satisfied with his accomplishments over the past 30 years. The only thing he was slightly less satisfied with was that his most talented daughter was not at home and he, as a father, had not yet met her. But there are 49 already. I estimate it won't be long before the system hands out another child money. I wonder if the system will give any surprises. Lu Changsheng murmured to himself, roughly grasping some patterns of the system's child money. After a brief visit with his children and spending some time with his wives, Lu Changsheng returned to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. At this time, Lu Miaoge was treating Ling Zixio's meridians and dantian. Thank you, Miaoge. A moment after the treatment finished, Ling Zixio sat up and softly thanked her. She then turned to Lu Changsheng and said, My lord, my meridians and dantian are now in a condition where I can attempt cultivation. He, congratulations, Zixio. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng laughed. Over the course of the year, both he and Lu Miaoge had done their best to treat Ling Zixio, and she had shown significant improvements. Her graceful features were no longer ashen and lacking color as before, but had become much more rosy. Congratulations, Sister Ling. Lu Miaoge also sounded her congratulations. She knew that Ling Zixio, due to her dragon roar physique, had withered meridians and dantian, and had been unable to cultivate. Otherwise, with her spiritual root talent, her cultivation level would probably have already reached the middle stage of foundation establishment, if not the later stages. Here are the 12 celestial demon techniques. Zixio, you can take a look and see which one suits you best. If you encounter any problems during the process, just come and ask me. Lu Changsheng took out the cultivation techniques he had prepared earlier and handed them to Ling Zixio. Thank you, my lord." Ling Zixiao graciously accepted the techniques, smiling lightly. She had long anticipated the day when her meridians and dantian would be restored. But perhaps because she had watched them gradually improve day by day, now that they were almost fully recovered, her heart had calmed down. "Zixiao, once you start cultivating, the problem with the dragon roar physique will likely reoccur, so you'll need to be very careful and cautious. If there's any issue, remember to tell me right away." Lu Chongsheng continued, speaking earnestly. The origin source of Ling Zixiao's dragon roar physique had been plundered by him using the dragon invocation technique, thereby entering a dormant state. But once she began cultivating, the issue with the spiritual body would re-emerge, causing the yang energy to scorch her meridians and dantian. "Do not worry, my lord. I understand," Ling Zixiao replied with a warm smile, feeling a surge of warmth in her heart. In the following days, Ling Zixiao tried to switch to a new cultivation method to see which of the Vermilion Bird Sky Scorching Art, the Thunder Fire 9 Arts, and the 12 Celestial Demon Techniques was more compatible with her. However, during the daytime when she had time, she would still go to Bai Shui Lake to construct the oceanic formation. After all, this oceanic formation mainly used the 36 oceanic orbs to nourish the spirit vein. Once the spirit vein beneath Bai Shui Lake advanced to the second rank, it could not only connect with the water vein of Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein, but also upgrade the overall spiritual energy of Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Chengsheng's plan for the spiritual beasts breeding farm could also begin by dividing an area in Bai Shui Lake for raising aquatic demon beasts. The stars and moon were without light, and the night was dark as ink. Outside Bai Lake Mountain, a figure cloaked in a black cloak appeared. His face was ashen and stiff, and within the hood, a pair of eyes glowed with a frightening crimson sheen, making them extremely intimidating against the night sky. By Lake Mountain, Xiahou Wuwa gazed into the distance at Bai Lake Mountain shrouded in blue misty waters in the night, his eyes glowing with an intimidating sheen. A second-tier top-level formation, a second-rank array master, really quite impressive. It's no wonder that Wu Su fell here in the past. However, even with your third-rank great formation, you cannot escape tonight's calamity. Xiahou Wuo's eyes were filled with killing intent. He turned into a divine rainbow, and instantly appeared at the summit of Bai Lake Mountain. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 780, 30 Years of Hard Work, Xiahou Wuwa Strikes. _4 He slapped his storage bag, and one bronze ancient steel after another appeared. A total of 18 steels dropped down, surrounding Bai Lake Mountain on all sides. As these steels landed, Xiahou Wuwa activated them, immediately erupting with grey pillars of light that coiled around the exterior of Bai Lake Mountain. The energy connected like a layer of grey chaos enveloping the entire Bai Lake Mountain. What's going on? The Lu family disciples, not only guarding the mountain gate of Bai Lake Mountain but also patrolling as sentinels, were always vigilant of their surroundings. Seeing this scene, they immediately realized something was wrong, activated the formation, took out communication talisman, and relayed the message to Bai Yun Peak. At the same time, in the sky above Bai Lake Mountain, a black staff appeared in Xiahou Wuo's hands. He tossed the staff into the air, where it continuously split into hundreds of staffs. Ia the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The grey chaos that emerged from the ancient steels like mist permeated these staffs, aiming a bombardment at the Great Formation. Boom, go to. For a moment, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation erupted with a violent noise, flickering uncertainly under the night sky. Many cultivators, whether in sleep or meditation, were suddenly jolted awake, their mental spirits trembling. What's happening? Inside Chongsheng Hall of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, Lu Chongsheng, Ling Zixiao, and Lu Miaoge were among those who were immediately awakened, realizing that something was amiss. They quickly left their dwellings and went to Bai Yun Peak, looking toward the exterior of the formation at Xiahou Wuwa, who was cloaked in a black cloak. "Who are you?" Lu Changsheng locked eyes with Xiahou Wuwa, his expression slightly tense as he spoke in a deep voice. He could not ascertain Xiahou Wuo's cultivation level, but given the current situation, he immediately realized that the enemy was no simple foe. He directly transmitted a question to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. "Master, this person's cultivation level should be at the false core." The ethereal and pure voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed in Lu Changsheng's mind. "Zi Xiao, activate the Mount Sumeru Illusion Sky Great Formation." Once Lu Changsheng heard this, he immediately transmitted the command to Ling Zixiao. They prepared to directly operate the Great Formation to confront the enemy and suppress him into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. "He, who am I? You rely on the power of the formation to kill my family's younger brother, so who do you think I am? Tonight, I will make your entire By Lake Mountain pay for my brother's burial." Xiahou Wuo's voice rang out, clanging and raspy, extremely grating. Amid his words, hundreds, if not thousands, of staffs attacked the By Lake Mountain Great Formation. These staffs were all enveloped in a layer of gray aura, striking at the formation, causing ripples that made the blue mist of the by-water heavenly blue Great Formation dissipate, revealing glimpses of By Lake Mountain. Clearly, this gray aura was a kind of treasure specifically for breaking magical formations. Xiahou Wuwa, Lu Changsheng, Ling Zixiao, and Lu Miaoge, having heard this, guessed the identity of this person. With such strength and seeking to avenge a brother, aside from the currently concealed Xiahou Wuwa, there could be no other. "Heaven's path you did not take, hell's gate you enter by your own choosing. Since you've come, there's no need to leave." Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a chill. The enemy had been hiding all this time and he had been thinking about finding trouble with the enemy to avenge Ling Zixiao. Yet for so many years, there had been no news of the foe. Unexpectedly, they finally had him coming to their doorstep. Whoosh! At this moment, Ling Zixiao manipulated the array plate. The Mount Sumeru Tree King's body glowed with a crystal sheen, and strands of divine light spilled out, lending a golden gleam to the by-water heavenly blue Great Formation which flickered in the uncertain light. The gold and blue light merged, making the Great Formation's energy inscrutable. A hazy, imperceptible mist appeared, slowly enveloping Xiahou Wuwa. I'd like to see what ability you have to claim your revenge." Decked in a green magical robe, Lu Changsheng rose to the sky, stood with his hands behind his back, and coldly spoke to Xiahou Wuwa beneath the night sky. "Arrogant fool, courting death." Xiahou Wuwa, seeing Lu Changsheng learn his identity yet still daring to be so bold and not taking him seriously, rebuked coldly. Amidst his words, a black great axe appeared in his hand, ready to slash down toward By Lake Mountain. But the next moment, he saw a hazy black mist emerge. The surrounding scenery suddenly transformed from the exterior of By Lake Mountain to a place shrouded in a vague and chaotic mist from all directions. With his axe, he cleaved through the endless murky gray fog, but it had no effect on this world. "What's going on?" Xiahou Wuo's eyes showed a look of shock and uncertainty. He realized he had fallen into a formation. But he couldn't immediately identify the flaw in the formation. "I've clearly set up the spirit-suppressing ancient steel, which should weaken the operation of the formation. This By Lake Mountain Great Formation is only a second-tier top-level formation, so how could it have such an effect?" Xiahou Wuo's face was ashen, his eyes flecked with crimson. Without giving it much thought, he slapped the Yin corpse bag at his waist and released his greatest reliance. Suddenly, a gust of Yin wind howled, an endless black fog billowed, filling the space with a terrifying and intimidating energy. However, at that moment, he felt the world spinning around him. The scene before his eyes changed once more, like an illusion of flowers in the mirror and the moon in the water. The surroundings were still shrouded in haze. But in front of him, he saw a palace, a pond, a table and chairs, and a woman with red hair dressed in red. Boom! Before he could understand what was happening, he suddenly felt a terrifying force of heaven and earth descending upon him, making his body sink. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him, trapping him in a mire, rendering him unable to move in the slightest. In his dantian, the false core also fell silent, unable to use even a fraction of his mana. How is this possible? Xiahou Wuwa immediately turned pale with fright, his eyes were filled with terror. Although he was only a false core immortal. But a false core immortal is still an immortal, a being that those at the Foundation establishment level look up to. Yet now, without even understanding what was happening, he was directly suppressed without the slightest ability to resist. Roar, roar, roar! At this moment, he heard terrifying roars and the chilling energy that accompanied them. He knew it was his greatest reliance, the dark demon corpse. But in just a moment, he saw his dark demon corpse, like him, trapped in the void. The corpse energy was restrained, the ghastly black runes on its musculature like those of a dragon gradually grew dim, the two crimson eyes and bull horns flickered uncertainly, as if falling into a deep sleep. This, Xiahou Wuo's eyes showed terror, and he couldn't understand what was happening. He felt as if he were dreaming. He was just there to annihilate a small Foundation establishment family. But what was this nightmare? Not only was he suppressed in an instant. His dark demon corpse, a third-rank corpse king, was also suppressed in an instant. This. If his mind were not clear, he would have thought he had stumbled into Qingyun sect. Xiahou Wuwa was a picture of horror and confusion, not knowing what was happening. The next moment, he saw ripples appear before him. 3 figures appeared, 1 male and 2 females. It was Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Ling Zixiao whom he had seen before. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 781, The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, An Unprecedented Harvest. _1 Lu Changsheng, Ling Zixiao, Xiahou Wuwa gazed at the trio of Lu Changsheng, Ling Zixiao, and Lu Miaoge, his expression somewhat bewildered. Sir the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If he had previously thought he was trapped in some illusion formation, blinded in his spirit sense, then now, with the appearance of Lu Changsheng and the others, he clearly realized that this was not an illusion. He was in a completely different space. Is this a cave heaven treasure? That hazy black fog just now, it was someone activating a cave heaven treasure, but a cave heaven treasure could never have such power. Xiahou Wuwa had his suspicions but still found it hard to believe, uncertain of the situation. After all, even a golden core true person visiting personally would not be able to suppress him and the dark demon corpse so effortlessly. Xiahou Wuwa, Lu Changsheng, donning a green robe, with handsome features and a calm demeanor, looked towards Xiahou Wuwa, whose complexion was ashen and stiff, his expression filled with terror. Go to Ko. Although he had known before about the power of his family's formation and Mount Sumera's strength, it was only at this moment that he had a clear realization. After all, the Xiahou Wuwa in front of him was a false core immortal, whose power was incredibly fearsome. When he had traveled to Jiuxiao Immortal City aboard the Qingyun sect spiritual vessel, he witnessed the pursuit of Qingyun's true inheritor, Chu Qingyi, by this man, and his battle with Qiyun True Immortal. Even Qiyun True Immortal, also a false core, was no match for the current Xiahou Wuwa. Yet here and now, such a formidable being was effortlessly suppressed by his family's great formation and Mount Sumera Tree King, reduced to a prisoner at their feet. However, his attention was immediately drawn to the dark demon corpse beside him, imposing as a small hill. Although this corpse king was suppressed by Mount Sumera and could not move a muscle, he could still sense a terrifying aura from it that left souls trembling. Xiahou Wuwa, I, Lu, have been waiting for you for quite some time now. Have you thought about how you wish to die? Lu Changsheng looked at Xiahou Wuwa, standing with his hands behind his back, his tone serene, speaking lightly. Lu Changsheng, who exactly are you?" The voice of Xiahou Wuwa was hoarse and grating. Though his mana was completely suppressed and sealed, he could still tell that Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao had foundation establishment cultivation levels. As for Lu Chongsheng, though his cultivation aura was obscured like a mist, he had gathered some basic understanding of Bai Lake Mountain before coming here. He knew that Bai Lake Mountain's master, Lu Chongsheng, was at the early stage of foundation establishment. Because he was skilled in talisman formation and cultivated with his wife, Lu Miaoge, in some kind of dual cultivation technique, their combined strength was almost comparable to the peak of foundation establishment. But right now, he realized that the Lu Chongsheng in front of him was definitely not that simple. This man held a great secret, inscrutable. The information he had acquired was merely what Lu Chongsheng had let the outside world know. "If that's all you have for your last words, then you may go ahead and die," Lu Chongsheng said softly. He, as a cultivator of the righteous path, naturally stood in opposition to the demonic path. If there was still a shred of kindness, he would be willing to offer an opportunity for redemption. But for a demonic path thief like Xiahou Wuwa, who was utterly vile and guilty of grave offenses, there was obviously nothing more to say. "Abyssal Ghoul Blossom," Lu Chongsheng called out. And so, next to the Fountain of Spirit, an exceedingly beautiful and enchanting dark red flower swayed gently, its bud ready to bloom, exuding a captivating luster. Accompanying the swaying, roots covered in dark red thorns emerged from the ground, stretching out towards Xiahou Wuwa, tainting the air with a hint of blood. This gorgeous and enthralling flower was the abyssal ghoul blossom that Lu Chongsheng had won from a system lottery. Uncertain if the abyssal ghoul blossom required a spirit vein, upon learning that the Mount Sumru Tree King could transplant the spirit plants out of the cave heaven, Lu Chongsheng temporarily planted this abyssal ghoul blossom within the Mount Sumru cave heaven. After planting it, Lu Chongsheng also gained a detailed understanding of this abyssal ghoul blossom. Indeed, the abyssal ghoul blossom could grow without a spirit vein, feeding only on flesh, blood, and souls. However, this method required a large amount of flesh and souls. Feeding it with demon beasts would be a significant expense. Therefore, wherever possible, it was still better to plant it atop a spirit vein, which would also accelerate its growth. Beyond that, after planting this abyssal ghoul blossom, Lu Chongsheng also understood its abilities in detail. Its belly harbored a prison that could contain living beings. This imprisonment couldn't be applied to beings far stronger than itself, and there was a limit to the number of beings it could hold. But this cage could refine beings and, through their souls, obtain fragments of their memories. This was somewhat similar to the soul-searching technique used in demonic path methods. So now, with Xiahou Wuwa readily arriving at his doorstep, Lu Chongsheng naturally wasn't going to be courteous, choosing instead to feed him to the flower to test out the effectiveness of the abyssal ghoul blossom's abilities. "What are you doing? You actually have such demonic path methods." The roots spreading from the abyssal ghoul blossom pierced into Xiahou Wuo's flesh and blood, dragging him in front of the flower bud. At this moment, the bud no longer appeared beautiful and enticing, but rather eerie and terrifying. It resembled a gaping abyss, with pistils like tentacles revealing a yearning for flesh. It enveloped and slowly drew him in. No! Xiahou Wuwa could feel a power seeping into his flesh, corrupting his flesh, bones, and mana. But at this time, his own mana was completely suppressed and sealed by the Mount Sumru Tree King. He was utterly powerless to resist. "No. I am not resigned to this. I still have family feuds and clan grievances, must seek revenge against Qingyun sect, and must restore the glory of the Xiahou family." Xiahou Wuo's ashen face twisted viciously, his crimson eyes filled with unwillingness, roaring hoarsely. For his objectives, he had been unscrupulous, even willing to submit to the demon race and become a lapdog to demons. But now, just as he began to glimpse hope, he was inexplicably dying at the hands of a minor foundation establishment family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 782, The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, an Unprecedented Harvest. He didn't even know how he died, how he had fallen. He wanted to roar and struggle, but he couldn't move an inch. His consciousness grew more and more blurry, and it felt like he was sinking into darkness. As the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom completely devoured Xiahou Wuwa, its roots disappeared, reverting to its original appearance, beautiful, enchanting, and flawless. No one would have suspected the horror that had just occurred. The dark demon corpse that was as huge as a small mountain also seemed to have its runes dimmed considerably. Its flickering bull horns and eyes appeared to be extinguished and turned a grayish-black color. This, Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Su Ruyan, who was not far away, witnessed this scene with surprise and suspicion, their minds in turmoil. On one hand, they felt the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom's methods were somewhat reminiscent of the sinister demon path. On the other, they were shocked to see a false core immortal being subdued and devoured in such a manner. It was hard to believe. After all, for them, a false core immortal was an exalted existence that was looked up to in their everyday lives. These methods do seem a bit demonic, go to. Kupon seeing this scene, Lu Chengsheng's eyes narrowed slightly, mumbling to himself. If the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom's methods were seen by others, it would undoubtedly be deemed demonic. However, now that Xiahou Wuwa is dead, I can go to Yu country's Jianghu sect with peace of mind. Lu Chongsheng exhaled softly. Although the Mount Sumer Tree King stood guard at home, making him unafraid of attacks, he would still feel somewhat uneasy as long as the other wasn't dead. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, magical treasures, spiritual artifacts, storage bags, and storage rings were expelled by the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. The Abyssal Ghoul Blossom not only fed on flesh, blood, and souls. The remains of dead beings, and even spirit plants and spiritual materials, could be its food. Even these magical treasures and spiritual artifacts could be corroded by it, turned into energy. But of course, Lu Chongsheng would not let it refine these items. Zi Shao, Sister Miaoge, time to clean up the loot. Lu Chongsheng chuckled softly, speaking to Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao in a gentle voice. Okay. Upon hearing his words, both women replied softly, not commenting further on the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Ling Zixiao, who was currently studying the 12 capital demon gods technique, didn't care about such demonic methods at all. While Lu Miaoge thought it seemed rather peculiar and wicked, she wouldn't say anything about it. However, Su Ruyan couldn't help but swallow hard, not expecting the demon plant to be so dreadful. Being a practitioner of the beast technique, she was very sensitive to the aura of demon beasts. The aura of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom earlier had given her palpitations. So many spirit stones. And 2 magical treasures. Opening a storage ring and breaking its seals, Lu Chongsheng was pleasantly surprised to find not only a pile of spirit stones and heavenly materials and earthly treasures but also 2 magical treasures. One was a purple thunder bead the size of a fist. Another was a fiery red, jade-like sharp little sword. He took out the 2 treasures to inspect, and it seemed they were both life-bound magical treasures. Spiritual Origin Pearl, Foundation Establishment Elixir, Core Formation Spiritual Object, so many spiritual ores, demon beast materials. Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao, examining a few storage bags, also cried out in surprise. They were somewhat astonished. SEA the Novel Fire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Because Xiahou Wuwa was indeed too wealthy, not fitting the profile of a false core immortal at all. My lord, Xiahou Wuwa had just set up a magic artifact outside by Lake Mountain to interfere with the Great Formation's operation. Your concubine needs to check on it. At that moment, sensing something, Ling Zixiao spoke up. I'll go with you, and we need to briefly reassure everyone after what just happened. Lu Chongsheng nodded in agreement. The recent assault on by Lake Mountain by Xiahou Wuwa, although brief, had caused quite a commotion. As the mountain master, it was only natural for him to calm the situation. Afterward, the two of them stepped out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. "My lord. Mountain Master. Father. Daddy." At the foot of Baiyun Peak, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Yun, Lu Pingan, and others rushed forward with questions upon seeing Lu Chongsheng and Ling Zixiao. "Heh, it was just a robber cultivator who came to cause trouble, but it's been dealt with." Lu Chongsheng didn't elaborate much. Although the news of killing Xiahou Wuwa could be used to intimidate others to a certain extent, and he could even claim a hefty bounty from Qingyun's sect, once the news got out, explaining and justifying it would become difficult, and continuing to live discreetly would no longer be an option. So, without a second thought, he fed the corpse to the abyssal ghoul blossom. After simply reassuring everyone that the robber cultivator had been destroyed by the family's great formation and ordering the guard to stand down, Lu Chongsheng and Ling Zixiao headed outside by Lake Mountain. This must be some kind of formation path magic artifact. Ling Zixiao examined the spirit-restricting steel softly, saying so. Then, along with Lu Chongsheng, they tried to collect the 18 ancient steels. Now that Xiahou Wuwa was dead, it was easy for them to gather these steels. After finishing up, the two returned into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven to continue sorting through the spoils of battle. Such rich spoils made all three of them deeply moved. Just then, Lu Chongsheng received a ripple from the abyssal ghoul blossom. It signified that the memory fragments of Xiahou Wuwa had been extracted. Raising his eyebrows, he moved beside the seductively beautiful blossom, laying his palm on the flower. Immediately, a series of broken and disjointed images began to unfold before his eyes. The memories were extremely chaotic, making it quite challenging to sort through the useful information, and it vastly drained his mental spirit. It's rumored that the Xiahou family are the covert descendants of the Heavenly Corpse sect in Jin Kingdom. So, ancestor Xiahou was once a disciple of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Back then, realizing that Qingyun's sect was targeting them, the Xiahou family had sent a portion of their core descendants to Yu country. Xiahou Wushang, Tisk, TSKS, I didn't expect Xiahou Wuwa to actually take part in the beast tide in Imperial Spirit Sect's domain, becoming a traitor. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 783, The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, An Unprecedented Harvest. Third Rank Corpse King, the Dark Demon Corpse. No wonder Xiahou Wuwa was so wealthy. He had plundered and looted several strongholds of Qingyun sect, Spirit Taming sect, Luoxia sect. Lu Chongsheng gathered a plethora of information from Xiahou Wuwa's memory fragments through the abyssal ghoul blossom. Yet the messages were too cluttered, and despite his divine sense reaching the pinnacle of foundation establishment, he found it somewhat exhausting to sift through them. He stopped browsing the memories, planning to sort them out later when he had spare time, to see if he could extract more useful information from Xiahou Wuo's memories. At this point, Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao also roughly sorted out the spoils of war. 13 superior-grade spirit stones. 948 middle-grade spirit stones. 79,611 lower-grade spirit stones. 3 lower-grade magical treasures, 1 magical treasure embryo, 3 top-quality spiritual artifacts, 2 superior-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 9 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and a pile of magic artifacts. Go to. Beside spirit stones and magical treasures, there was also 1 core formation spiritual object, 1 genuine foundation establishment elixir, 1 spiritual origin pearl, 4 foundation establishment spirit objects, 3rd rank spiritual wood. As for other spiritual objects, spiritual mines, spiritual medicine, and demon beast corpses, there was a huge pile. Faced with such a bountiful harvest, even Lu Chongsheng found it difficult to appraise. Because for items like magical treasures and some 3rd rank materials and spiritual objects, it is hard to measure their value with spirit stones. Such high-level items mostly involve barter trade, not simply sold for spirit stones. Previously, when Lu Chongsheng had attended the auction at the Qingyun market, a magical treasure was auctioned for the high price of 330,000 spirit stones. However, this kind of price offers little reference value. Regardless, tonight's haul was unprecedented for Lu Chongsheng, exceeding the value of 1 million spirit stones. With the gain from tonight, it would be enough for him to sit back and live off the wealth of Bai Lake Mountain for nearly a decade. Indeed, the quickest way to wealth is through the generous support of kind souls. If I had to rely on talisman making and alchemy, even if I worked from dawn till dusk, I don't know how long it would take. Lu Chongsheng voiced his thoughts aloud. Even though he was accustomed to grand scenes due to the system, the staggering bounty still excited him. Especially the 3 magical treasures and 1 magical treasure embryo. Although these magical treasures and the embryo, being the life-bound magic treasure of others, were not convenient to sell and would have significantly reduced power and efficacy if used, they were perfect for practicing the 100 refinements treasure body art. By now, Pingon has mastered the initial stage of the 100 refinements treasure body art, breaking through the first layer. With these 3 magical treasures and 1 magical treasure embryo, I can give 1 to him to try incorporating into his body for practice. Then I can select 2 more from the family with a talent for body refinement to teach the treasure body technique. Lu Chongsheng mused internally, planning to have his children practice with these 3 magical treasures and the embryo. After all, for his children to cultivate, making dual use of a single magical treasure is the most cost-effective method. For himself as a father, that was about enough. Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao too were so stunned by the astonishing harvest that they felt as if they were dreaming. After all, the number of spirit stones and the heaven and earth spiritual materials were too vast, too overwhelming. This night would be a sleepless one for the 3 of them. Not just for them, but for most of the people at Bai Lake Mountain, tonight was also a sleepless night. After all, Xiahou Wuo's previous momentum and formation clearly belonged to no ordinary cultivator. He was probably a great cultivator in the late stage of foundation establishment. Yet such an existence was suppressed by Bai Lake Mountain within moments, which was astonishing. Yu country. The Xiahou family of South Wind Ridge. This was a small foundation establishment family clan that had someone breakthrough to foundation establishment a few years ago. The family's elder led people to clear and establish the family clan here thereafter. The location was very remote, not only close to the Myriad Beasts mountain range but also surrounded by many poisonous miasmas. A middle-aged man around 40, with graying hair and clad in a white brocade robe, was organizing the family's land veins through a formation. Just then, he suddenly sensed something and stiffened instantly. His face turned pale, and his arms trembled slightly as he took a jade token out of his storage bag. The jade token was full of cracks. Then, with a bang, it exploded into a dust of jade. Big brother. Xiahou Wushang looked at the jade token in his hand, his complexion drastically changing as if struck by a bolt from the blue. He staggered, calling out in sorrow. Back when the Xiahou family of Blackwater was obliterated, the 3 brothers escaped with the core disciples and went into hiding. Elder brother Xiahou Wuo ventured to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, accumulating strength in secret by hunting demon beasts. Second brother Xiahou Wushu continued to cause chaos in Jianghu country, earning resources through looting. As for himself, he led the family's core to Yu country, hiding their names and clandestinely growing their strength. But now, merely 10 years later, just as his side of the family had begun to settle down, first came the death of second brother Xiahou Wushu, and now, tragic news of elder brother Xiahou Wuo. Big brother, Xiahou Wushang's face was filled with grief, his fists clenched tightly. He didn't allow himself to grieve for long. Suddenly raising his head, his expression was resolute. He knew that now, he must be the one to hold up the family. Now that big brother has perished abroad, the family's vengeance seems hopeless. The cultivation technique of the Xiahou family must no longer be practiced, otherwise, if any mishap occurs, our Xiahou family will be utterly eradicated. We cannot carry on here either and must abandon this place, or else it might invite trouble. Xiahou Wuxiang murmured to himself. He had chosen this place as the family's spirit land because it was unclaimed. Additionally, it was suitable for corpse refining and for practicing the Xiahou family's cultivation techniques. But now, with the death of elder brother Xiahou Wua, he knew their chances for revenge were almost hopeless. What he needed to do now was ensure the family's survival. And to do that, the Xiahou family's cultivation techniques must indeed be abandoned. They had to completely disguise themselves and start anew. CTH Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After spending nearly half a month, Lu Chongsheng obtained many important pieces of information from Xiahou Wuo's fragmented memories. For example, Xiahou Wuo had a brother in the Foundation establishment late stage, called Xiahou Wuxiang, who was lurking in Yu country. Xiahou Wuo chose to betray humankind because many demon kings in the Myriad Beasts mountain range had reached some sort of clandestine agreement. As for what that agreement was, even Xiahou Wuo was not clear. Then, there was a corpse refining stronghold Xiahou Wuo had in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. The Dark Demon Corpse was created by Xiahou Wuo using a third-rank demon king called Kangmang Ox. However, this Dark Demon Corpse had a defect: it was difficult to control and prone to backlash. To prevent the corpse from turning on its master, it needed constant feeding with fresh blood. That's why he attacked many family strongholds, not just to plunder resources but also to feed the corpse. From the other's memories, Lu Chongsheng also obtained the heritage of the Xiahou family, Heavenly Corpse Refinement Technique. However, this technique could only be cultivated up to the initial stage of core formation. Aside from the technique, there was also a third-rank corpse refining heritage. From ritualizing ordinary walking corpses to iron corpses, copper corpses, silver corpses, and so on. Each of these corpses had their corresponding progression pathways. Such as Dark Demon Corpse, Golden Armor Zombie, Flying Yiksha, Bone-Dissolving Blood Corpse, and so on. Lu Chongsheng, however, wasn't particularly interested in this technique or the corpse refining heritage. After a quick look, he found that the conditions for refining these corpses were too heinous. For example, the Dark Demon Corpse was very likely to turn on its master, requiring a large intake of blood periodically. The bone-dissolving blood corpse not only needed to consume blood but also required the use of close relatives' corpses for refining to avoid backlash. Really, the more powerful the corpse refining, the more evil the methods. I wonder if that endless guileful head I drew from the system will be the same? Lu Chongsheng thought of the endless guileful head he had won from the system. According to the system's description, this endless guileful head was quite formidable, one of the corpse deception sect's top corpse fiends. Should I take that thing out to have a look? Anyway, with Mount Sumeru at hand, it can't create any commotion. And from the system's products, there should be an acknowledgement of the master, so it won't exhibit any man-eating behavior. Lu Chongsheng mused for a moment, thinking of extracting the endless guileful head he drew as a prize from the system. Otherwise, if left in the system space at home, it might just collect dust forever. Extract. Lu Chongsheng looked at the endless guileful head in the system space, his mental spirit stirring slightly. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 784, Core Formation Law Domain, Corpse Charm manipulates the corpse charm. _1 inch hu, in an instant, a head with a black, rigid face, ink-black eyes with no whites, disheveled hair, and a ferocious and terrifying appearance materialized. Holy shit, even though Lu Chongsheng had seen quite a few spectacles, the sight of the endless guileful head still caused his heart to skip a beat, sending shivers down his spine. This head was not only ferocious and terrifying. Its pitch-black face resembled a horse's, elongated like pulled dough, bizarre and unsettling. The two eyes were like swirling black holes, drawing in the mental spirit, intimidating the soul. The endless guileful head, truly sinister. The information about this third-rank refined corpse came into Lu Changsheng's mind. The endless guileful head, with early third-rank strength. Its divine skills were strange and unpredictable, mainly focusing on illusions, capable of creating a ghost domain. Within the ghost domain, only nascent soul immortals could contend. For chi refinement, foundation establishment cultivators, and demon beasts, once they entered the ghost domain, they would be on a one-way path to death. Moreover, under the prolonged erosion of the ghost domain, these beings would be refined into ghost slaves by the endless guileful head. The so-called ghost slaves were a kind of puppet, a Dao soldier. By then, once the ghost domain spread out, the endless guileful head would have many fearless ghost slaves, and its overall strength would continue to rise. Ghost domain. Lu Changsheng looked at the effects of the endless guileful head's ghost domain, his eyes narrowing slightly as he muttered to himself. Initially, Hong Lian mentioned that within a nascent soul immortal's body, mana converges to a high degree, vaguely forming a certain domain around them, referred to as the core formation law domain. This law domain may not have much effect on cultivators of the same level, but for chi refinement and foundation establishment cultivators, it is an absolute crush. The reason a false core immortal is far inferior to a nascent soul immortal lies not only in the inability to progress in cultivation level but also in the inability to form a law domain, which even allows them to be challenged and surrounded by foundation establishment cultivators. This ghost domain must be similar to a nascent soul immortal's law domain. Lu Changsheng pondered silently. Having never seen a nascent soul immortal make a move, he was always curious if his current strength could overcome core formation. Thus, he had deliberately asked Hong Lian about this issue. Hong Lian told him, once a cultivator broke through to core formation, they could form a law domain. This law domain had no effect on cultivators of the same stage. But for those of lower stages, it was an absolute crush. Lu Changsheng, by using a talisman formation and third-rank talisman, could catch a nascent soul cultivator by surprise and even hope to kill them. However, in a direct confrontation, once the opponent's core formation law domain unfolded, his own mana would become difficult to execute. At that time, even with a myriad of techniques, he would be unable to deploy them and stand no chance against core formation. Therefore, when encountering a nascent soul cultivator, one must never enter the range of their law domain, otherwise, it would be very dangerous. Ghost domain, ghost slaves. Speaking of which, could the endless guileful head possibly turn Xiahou Wuo's the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave? Lu Changsheng's thoughts paused suddenly. Since he could not control the dark demon corpse, he planned to use it to feed the abyssal ghoul blossom. But the abyssal ghoul blossom was still digesting Xiahou Wuo, so the dark demon corpse was still around for the time being. Now, seeing the abilities of the endless guileful head, he suddenly thought that if it managed to turn the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave, wouldn't its strength greatly increase? However, the endless guileful head can only enslave and refine into ghost slaves those weaker than itself. That the dark demon corpse is also at early third rank, so it might be difficult to refine it into a ghost slave. Lu Changsheng's brow furrowed slightly. The endless guileful head was formidable, but not so monstrous as to turn the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. The dark demon corpse is currently suppressed by Mount Sumeru. It's worth a try. Lu Changsheng rose to his feet, preparing to give it a try and see if it would be feasible. If it worked, it would naturally be for the best. If it didn't, it wouldn't matter, he could continue to feed the abyssal ghoul blossom. Let's go. Lu Changsheng said to the endless guileful head. This endless guileful head had simple awareness. But a product of the system is guaranteed to be fine. The other party directly recognized him as the master, just like pet beasts that could communicate, and there was no possibility of it devouring its master. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, controlling this endless guileful head would constantly erode the mental spirit, thus affecting the temperament. Without a treasure that suppresses the mental spirit, once eroded to a certain extent by the endless guileful head, it would end up being possessed and consumed by it. Although the issues of recognition and consumption by the master were resolved, his current foundation establishment cultivation level meant he couldn't stay for long within the endless guileful head's ghost domain. Otherwise, even as its master, he would be affected by the ghost domain's effects. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the ferocious and terrifying head followed by his shoulder, accompanying him. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. TSK, why do I feel like I'm becoming more and more like a demonic path cultivator? Lu Changsheng looked at the endless guileful head on his shoulder and couldn't help but shake his head. He felt that if he walked around in the outside world like this, he would definitely be treated as a demonic path cultivator. Arriving outside the Great Hall, looking at the dark demon corpse suspended in mid-air and imprisoned by Mount Sumeru, Lu Changsheng said to the endless guileful head, "Go ahead. There's another advantage to being in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. That is, whatever you do, with Mount Sumeru there's no worry of accidents." Hoo, in the blink of an eye, the endless guileful head soared into the sky, hair wildly fluttering around, its aura becoming dark and frightening. A layer of pitch-black light accompanied by thin wisps of black mist spread out from it as the center, instantly covering the looming, vast form of the dark demon corpse. The entire sky above Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven suddenly became shrouded in dark miasma, with chilling winds howling, like the netherworld hell, horrifying and penetrating. This ghost domain looks a bit like a formation space. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin while observing the ghost domain. He then shouted toward Mount Sumeru, "Mount Sumeru." Streams of golden light fell upon Lu Changsheng's body, enveloping him entirely and transforming into golden battle armor. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 785, Core Formation Law Domain, Corpse Charm manipulates the corpse charm. Lu Changsheng, clad in golden battle armor that radiated light, entered the domain of the endless guileful head, the ghost domain, to survey the situation. As soon as he entered the ghost domain, he felt the mana within his body become heavy, slightly sluggish. Moreover, here, he was unable to sense nature's spiritual energy. So this is the ghost domain, Lu Changsheng muttered to himself as he looked around. Everywhere was shrouded in a gray haze, and black winds howled, transforming into ghostly faces that wailed and sobbed, as if in mourning. A wave of sorrow, pain, panic, fear, loneliness, and despair surged into his heart. Such a terrifying ghost domain. If an ordinary chi refinement or foundation establishment cultivator were to enter this domain, they wouldn't even need the endless guileful head to act. Slowly, they would lose their minds, their heart demons stirred. Lu Changsheng briefly experienced the impact and power of this ghost domain and was secretly shocked. He knew that within this ghost domain, the illusory divine skills of the endless guileful head could even provoke the heart demons of others. If there was any lapse in mental defense during a confrontation, it would mean a certain death. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Afterward, Lu Changsheng turned his gaze towards the dark demon corpse shrouded in black mist. Go to. This dark demon corpse seemed to still possess some instincts. It sensed that it was being refined into a ghost slave and struggled instinctively. But faced with the dual suppression of Mount Sumeru and the endless guileful head, it was completely powerless to resist. At that moment, the endless guileful head also transmitted its intentions, expressing that it could refine the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. However, once turned into a ghost slave, the strength of the dark demon corpse would diminish, losing its original divine might. And after it was turned into a ghost slave, doing so would also place a certain strain on the endless guileful head itself, limiting the total number of ghost slaves it could enslave in the future. How much will its combat strength decrease? Lu Chongsheng inquired of the endless guileful head. It will no longer possess its original divine skills, mostly relying on instinctual combat. The endless guileful head sent back a thought. That's already sufficient. The main combat strength of this dark demon corpse lies in its physical body. Moreover, once within the ghost domain, with the endless guileful head disrupting one's mental spirit, the dark demon corpse can overpower any ordinary nascent soul immortal head-on. They won't stand a chance. Lu Chongsheng felt the trade-off was worth it. Most importantly, by having the endless guileful head control the dark demon corpse, this third-rank corpse king would not suffer from backlash, sparing him the effort of nourishment. Having confirmed the situation regarding the endless guileful head and the dark demon corpse, Lu Chongsheng stepped out of the ghost domain, and the golden battle armor dissipated from around his body. Upon seeing the beautiful and seductive abyssal ghoul blossom by the spirit spring pond, Lu Chongsheng's brows furrowed slightly, a look of strangeness crossing his face. How come my path seems to be veering more and more towards the demon path? Lu Chongsheng said with a peculiar expression. No, my heart and actions are as clear as a bright mirror. After all, power is neither inherently good nor evil. It is how one uses it. That which is used for goodness is righteous, that which is used for evil is demonic. As someone like me, brimming with positive energy, having saved countless suffering souls, even if I possess some demonic methods, I am still of the righteous path. Lu Chongsheng nodded to himself, his expression resolute. At Baiyun Peak, in the Lu family mansion, Lu Chongsheng was spending time with Bai Ling. Now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the pinnacle of the 9th level of energy refinement. With some more time spent polishing her spiritual power until it was round and flawless, she would be ready to attempt foundation establishment. Chongsheng, at that moment, Lu Miaoge sent him a message indicating something was amiss with Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Something's amiss? Lu Changsheng's brows lifted, and after asking Bai Ling to wait for him, he proceeded to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. It was only when he arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven that he realized what Lu Miaoge meant by something's amiss was the ghost domain formed by the endless guileful head. Sister Miaoge, there's no need to worry. I thought that keeping Xiahou Wuo's third-rank corpse king idle would be a waste, so I used another method to refine and control it, Lu Chongsheng explained out loud. Chongsheng, refining corpses, methods of the demon path damage the natural order. If it's possible to use them less, it's better to avoid them, Lu Miaoge uttered with pursed lips after hearing him. Although she didn't reject her husband's use of demonic methods, she wasn't completely comfortable with it either. After all, in the Jianghu country cultivation realm's portrayal of the demon path, it was considered extremely heinous and harmful to the natural order. Moreover, both the abyssal ghoul blossom and now the endless guileful head presented somewhat sinister and demonic scenes, raising concern that they might influence Lu Chongsheng. Should he become affected, it wouldn't just be him at risk, it would be all of Bai Lake Mountain. I understand, Sister Miaoge. Lu Chongsheng, knowing that she was concerned for him, took her hand seriously and reassured her. He expressed that he was aware of the implications and asked her not to worry. That night, when Ling Zixiao and Su Rian finished setting up the formation and returned from their tasks, they too were shocked to see the ghost domain above Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Su Rian, in particular, became even more convinced that Lu Chongsheng was not a good person. Is this a core formation law domain? No, this isn't just any law domain. Hong Lian in the ancient beast taming charm also witnessed this scene and sensed that something was amiss. She observed carefully and soon saw the endless guileful head inside, realizing that this ghost domain was even more formidable than a typical core formation law domain. It could even influence nascent soul cultivators to some extent. This is some kind of corpse refining method, where all divine skills and magical powers are converted into a law domain, tremendously powerful, enough to confront cultivators of the same rank. The young master is only at foundation establishment strength. how can he control such corpse refinement? The more Hong Lian observed, the more she was shocked, unable to comprehend how Lu Chongqing managed to wield such a fearsome undead being. Corpse refining was different from beast taming. Spiritual beasts had sentient nature and could be gradually nurtured, tamed from a young age, thus recognizing a master. But corpse refinement entities mostly lacked sentience, having only instinctual awareness. They could be controlled only through various restrictive techniques, and loyalty to a master was virtually non-existent. Especially the more powerful and sinister the reanimated corpse, the truer this was, not suffering from backlash was already fortunate. To control the strong with the weak was exceedingly difficult. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 786, Core Formation Law Domain, Corpse Charm manipulates the corpse charm. So upon witnessing the situation with the endless guileful head, she was immensely alarmed and couldn't help but speculate more about Lu Changsheng's previous life. Originally, from their years of interactions, she felt that Lu Changsheng surely belonged to the righteous great powers reincarnated for a new phase of cultivation. But at this moment, she believed that Lu Changsheng's former life was probably one of both righteous and demonic cultivation, an existence that was both upright and evil. Definitely not some purely righteous path. Lu Changsheng, of course, had no idea about Hong Lian's speculations. However, Ling Zixio's attitude was similar to that of Lu Miaoge, in the sense that demonic methods could be used, but caution was still needed. With that in mind, Lu Changsheng planned to keep any demonic-oriented rewards he would receive in the future as hidden as possible. Otherwise, having a bunch of demonic rewards at home really wouldn't look too good. Lu Family Mansion. Pingon, how is your progress with the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art? One day, Lu Changsheng found his son Lu Pingon and came to check on his 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art. Source, Web Novel. Updated on. Dad, Lu Pingon immediately spoke up, explaining his current cultivation situation. Not bad. After inspecting, Lu Changsheng had a general understanding of his son's level. The compatibility with the cultivation technique was average, and the pace of cultivation was also average. But the key was stability. Steady, methodical practice, without any major issues. Refine this magical treasure and then condense it into your body. Lu Changsheng took out the black great axe belonging to Xiahou Wuwa from his storage bag. Although all three magical treasures were of inferior grade, this black great axe was considered the best. Therefore, Lu Changsheng handed it directly to his eldest son for cultivation. A magical treasure? To condense it into my body? Lu Pingon was startled upon hearing this, as if he had misheard. Then, looking at the black great axe in front of him, he was utterly confused and didn't understand what was going on. This is a magical treasure? Lu Pingon looked at the magical treasure before him, utterly baffled. Previously, when Lu Changsheng had given him a badly damaged black dragon magical bead, it had already shocked and confused him. Now, to suddenly produce a seemingly undamaged magical treasure indeed left him at a loss for words. Aren't magical treasures supposed to be items that only nascent soul immortals can utilize, according to the legends? He was just a minor chi refinement cultivator. How could he possess the moral character or capability to use a magical treasure for cultivation? Moreover, his father had already astounded him by producing damaged magical treasures before, so how could he now possess a complete magical treasure? Indeed, this is a magical treasure. Seeing his son's baffled, inexperienced look, Lu Changsheng explained, "Your father has had a little bit of fortune and just happened to acquire a few magical treasures. Now that you've grasped the basics of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, you can attempt to refine this magical treasure and integrate it into your body. Doing so will greatly expedite your progress with the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art." Lu Changsheng said aloud. A little bit of fortune? Just happened to obtain a few magical treasures? Lu Pingan was totally bewildered, extremely bewildered. He was no longer the youth who had only a rudimentary understanding of the cultivation world. He clearly understood what a magical treasure signified. But now, these were being described as just a little bit of fortune by his father? Then what constituted a great fortune? Dad, wouldn't this be too wasteful? Lu Pingan came back to his senses and scratched his head, feeling a little reluctant. He thought that selling such a magical treasure for spirit stones or spiritual materials would clearly be more valuable. If I told you to cultivate, then cultivate, what's with all the nonsense? Aren't you always keen on going out for training? Once you've integrated this magical treasure into your body and mastered the Baogu method, which can nurture the treasure bones, I will let you go out. Lu Chongsheng spoke to his son. Although Lu Pingan possessed a 5th-grade spiritual root, his pace of cultivation was average because he started cultivating late, was sent to the secular world during his childhood, had not been fortified with elixir medicines to establish his foundation, and was pursuing magical dual cultivation. His current cultivation level was at the 5th layer of qi refinement. However, Lu Chongsheng knew that his son also harbored a desire to head out. Or rather, his son might still be dwelling on that young girl from his past. As for how to appraise his son's dedication to pure love, Lu Chongsheng didn't really know what to say and could only let it be. Thanks, Dad. Lu Pingan smiled, picking up the black great axe to inspect and trying to channel his spiritual power into it. However, the spiritual power entering the magical treasure was like a bucket of water being poured into the sea, without the slightest reaction. Yet, through the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he could affirm that it truly was a magical treasure. Dad, I feel it might be better to sell this magical treasure, using it for cultivation seems a bit of a waste. Lu Pingan hesitated, looking at the magical treasure. He felt his father was showing him a bit too much favoritism. Between gifting him a spiritual root and now a magical treasure for cultivation, he truly felt a weighty sense of responsibility. He thought it might be better to sell the magical treasure and convert it into cultivation resources to distribute within the family. Pingan, you should know that a man is not guilty for bearing jade, but he incurs guilt by possessing it. With treasures like magical treasures, once they're sold, they would invite trouble to our family. Therefore, the best approach is to use them for cultivation, to realize their value. Lu Changsheng's words to his son were filled with a mix of helplessness and pride. He continued, furthermore, by utilizing this magical treasure to enhance your strength, you'll be able to contribute back to the family in the future, so there's no such thing as waste. Yes, Dad. Lu Pingan pursed his lips and spoke in a firm tone. CTH Novelfire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He felt a heavy sense of responsibility. Alright, start refining it, your father will watch over you. Lu Chongsheng spoke up. Okay. Lu Pingan nodded and began to channel his mental spirit and spiritual power like an invisible fire, beginning to refine the black great axe before him. Lu Chongsheng watched by the side. He would let his son refine it on his own each day, as long as there were no issues with his technique, and notify himself when ready to integrate it into his body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 787, Core Formation Law Domain, Corpse Charm manipulates the Corpse Charm. _4 After giving a magical treasure to Lu Pingan for his cultivation of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, Lu Chongsheng considered how to allocate the remaining 2 magical treasures and the magical treasure embryo. Thinking of his daughter Lu Wangshu's talent and comprehension, Lu Chongsheng planned to let this daughter try practicing the 100 Refinements treasure body art as well. After all, as long as one could comprehend this cultivation technique, with the condensed magical treasure integrated into the body to assist in cultivation, there would be no need to spend time on it every day, thus not delaying other cultivations. Lu Chongsheng soon found his daughter Lu Wangshu, who was fishing. This daughter, having undergone the medicinal bath baptism and broken through to the second level of qi refinement, was now able to go fishing by herself. Although she could not yet fly, she could let the cold blue dark turtle take her out to fish. This made Lu Chongqing somewhat regret why he had given the cold blue dark turtle to his daughter in the first place. However, upon arriving at Bai Shui Lake, Lu Chongqing saw his daughter practicing talisman making while fishing, and he immediately felt a great sense of relief. Daddy. Lu Wangshu was not formally making talismans, but was practicing with ordinary paper and ink. Seeing Lu Chongqing arrive, she immediately called out sweetly. Source, web novel. Updated on. Wangshu, how long have you been fishing today? Lu Chongqing asked gently, coming over. Daddy, I've only been here for a little while, she replied. And I feel that practicing talisman making while fishing gives me a better feeling. Lu Wangshu said with a face full of sweetness and cuteness. He. Lu Chongqing was not at all deceived by her sweet and cute appearance. After all, he had a clear idea of what his little cotton-padded jacket was like after raising her for so many years. He said aloud, Wangshu, Daddy has something good for you, do you want it? Something good? What is it, Daddy? Upon hearing this, Lu Wangshu immediately became interested. She resembled her mother Xiaoxia, with a delicate oval face, a full and fair forehead, arched eyebrows, and a pair of bright big eyes that seemed to glow with intelligence, vivacious and attractive. Come with Daddy. Lu Chongqing picked up his daughter and brought her back to the Lu family mansion. He then took out a purple thunder bead and expressed that he had a cultivation technique. Once mastered, one would possess immense strength, a body as formidable as magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts. Moreover, once one got through the initial stages of cultivation, one could use this purple thunder bead to assist in cultivation without having to practice hard oneself. Daddy, I want to practice, I want to practice. Lu Wangshu immediately cried out excitedly upon hearing this. Having experienced the joy of a strong physical body after the medicinal bath baptism, she was very interested in this type of body cultivation. Especially knowing that she could cultivate automatically without having to spend time struggling through practice, her interest was piqued even more. Seeing his daughter's interest, what followed was naturally an easy conversation. Lu Chongqing began to teach his daughter the 100 Refinements treasure body art. An hour later. Daddy, I've already memorized it, Lu Wangshu crisply said. Good, since that's the case, start your cultivation, and Daddy will watch over you, Lu Chongqing said with a warm smile. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Chongqing saw his daughter Lu Wangshu slowly enter the state of cultivation. Tisk, seeing the speed of his daughter's progress, Lu Chongqing couldn't help but think of his son Lu Pingan. He remembered it took his son an entire day to get into the state. And then it took 3 to 4 days for him to barely get through the threshold, and his cultivation was still fraught with hiccups. It seems the gap between people can sometimes be even greater than that between humans and demon beasts, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He gained a deeper understanding of his daughter's talent and comprehension. Just like that, he quietly watched his daughter's cultivation. Once she was almost done, he took out a golden essence stone to try absorbing the essence of the material. This step took Lu Wangshu only half a day. In 3 days, Lu Wangshu had fully mastered the basics. She also gained a clear understanding of refining treasure into the body and could attempt to refine magical treasures. However, at the moment, her mental spirit and spiritual power were too weak to refine magical treasures. She would need to be at least in the middle stage of qi refinement. Faced with this situation, Lu Wangshu suddenly found a new drive for her daily cultivation practices. Before, she had been somewhat perfunctory about her daily cultivation. After all, children at that age tended to be playful, and Lu Chongqing didn't want to be too strict. Seeing how his daughter became more diligent in her cultivation because of this matter, he was happy to let her be. After teaching his daughter, he tried to teach his sons, Lu Yun, Lu Chuanjun, and Lu Qingxian, the 100 Refinements treasure body art. But his 3 sons were far from satisfactory, encountering many difficulties in their cultivation, and not quite suitable for it. Faced with this, Lu Chongsheng did not insist. He knew that daughters like Lu Wangshu were rare after all, and that he still needed to find children with a talent for body refinement. Immediately, Lu Chongsheng, through the system, found another daughter, Lu Qingyan. This daughter was the child of a concubine named Xiaoqing. A 6th-grade spiritual root, with 41% body refinement talent, she had just completed drawing qi into her body. For this daughter, Lu Chongsheng did not teach her right away but decided to observe her temperament first. After all, the cultivation of the treasure body technique must not be as recklessly intense as most body refining techniques, and she was still young, only 12 years old. In the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. During this time, Lu Chongsheng spent most of his time accompanying his wives and children, paying attention to the cultivation progress of his children. That day, Lu Chongsheng received a letter from Xiaoxia. In the letter, Xiaoxia informed him that the Qingyun sect had found traces of Xiahou. The adversary had slain several forces and was likely to come to the Qingyun region. If the adversary came to the Qingyun region, there was a high chance that he would target Bai Lake Mountain over the past affair with Xiahou. Even though she knew that Bai Lake Mountain was protected by the Mount Summer Tree King, Xiaoxia still wrote to warn Lu Chongsheng to be extra careful and cautious. Sir, the novel _fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lu Chongsheng, looking at the letter, felt a warmth in his heart. Through the fragmented memories of Xiahou, he knew that Xiahou had started causing trouble in the Myriad Beasts mountain range and the Imperial Spirit Sect's domain. The last known location was in the border area between the Qingyun sect and the Spirit Taming sect. However, such information was subject to delays, hence Xiaoxia only received the news now. In fact, this was also one of Xiahou's calculations, done deliberately. By causing a commotion in these places and drawing attention, he could then directly head to Bai Lake Mountain. Because Xiahou also knew that Bai Lake Mountain was not far from the Qingyun sect, deep within the Qingyun region. If the Qingyun sect discovered him and sent pursuers, it would be very dangerous. Immediately, Lu Chongsheng replied to Xiaoxia, indicating that he would be cautious. As for the fact that Xiahou had already died on Bai Lake Mountain, he did not mention it. Although such correspondence was highly confidential and would self-destruct if someone attempted to access it, with numerous methods within the cultivation world, it might still be intercepted by some means. Half a month later, the endless guileful head finally succeeded in transforming the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. If it were not for the suppression of the Mount Summer Tree King, with the current power of the endless guileful head, it would have been impossible to transform the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. After completing the transformation, Lu Chongsheng placed the endless guileful head into the Yin corpse bag, specifically designed to contain refinements of corpses. This knowledge came from the corpse refinement inheritance memories of Xiahou. Such creatures, mostly required to be placed in Yin veins, turbid qi, and special refinement lands for nurturing. Only in this way could the refinements slowly grow and increase in power. If kept outside for long periods, absorbing too much of nature's spiritual energy, not only would they fail to grow, but they could even regress. This Yin corpse bag, which was also obtained from Xiahou, was considered a treasure. Ordinary first and second rank refinements placed inside could be enhanced. For refinements like the dark demon corpse and the endless guileful head, which were third rank, it had little effect. It could only ensure that the refinements would not regress. If they were greatly exhausted or damaged, they could also slowly recover within the Yin corpse bag. However, to advance their growth, aside from being buried in a third-rank corpse nurturing ground, they needed to be fed with flesh and blood and re-refined. Husband, it's a letter from Fairy Zhao. That day, Lu Miaoyun indicated that Zhao Qingxing had sent a letter. Lu Chongsheng opened the letter and read it. Zhao Qingqing informed that she had successfully broken through to Foundation establishment and invited Lu Chongsheng to the Qingyun sect to join a small celebration. Broke through to Foundation establishment successfully, Lu Chongsheng murmured with a light chuckle while looking at the letter in his hand. He was not surprised by Zhao Qingqing's breakthrough to Foundation establishment. Given her spiritual root talent, preparation, and the probabilities, the odds were not small. He then planned to visit the Qingyun sect later to attend the small celebration. Not only could he catch up with a good friend, but he could also meet Xiao Xia and see the children of the Qingyun sect who were cultivating. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 788, Foundation Establishment Celebration. Zhao Qingqing's initiative _1/2 a month later, Hong Yi arrived at Bai Lake Mountain. He had also received an invitation from Zhao Qingqing. Therefore, this trip to Bai Lake Mountain was to prepare to visit Qingyun sect together with Lu Chongsheng. He also took the opportunity to visit his son, Hong Xuanji. You won't need much longer to break through the 6th level energy refinement. Hong Yi felt both surprised and delighted upon hearing his son's words. His son, now 23 years old, was about to break through to the 6th level energy refinement. This pace of cultivation had already surpassed most of his peers. It should be known that he himself was still at the cultivation level of 6th level energy refinement. Yes, and Uncle Lu has allowed our family to teach me an exquisite level cultivation technique. Source, web novel. Updated on. Hong Xuanji said to his father in a quiet voice. An exquisite level cultivation technique. Upon hearing these words, Hong Yi was inwardly shocked. Though the father and son had exchanged letters, the son had not mentioned this matter in his letters. Now, hearing it for the first time, he was at a loss for words. With such kindness from brother Lu, I, Hong Yi, have no way to repay. Hong Yi felt deeply moved, not expecting the other party to take such good care of his son. Thinking of their 30 years of acquaintance, and how he owed much of his current achievement to Lu Changsheng's support, he spoke solemnly, Xuanji, you concentrate on your cultivation and responsibilities at Bai Lake Mountain. If there is anything, you can ask your Chuanjin brother for advice and write to your father, Hong Yi so instructed. Since Lu Chuanjin had experienced the secular world in his early years, Hong Yi always encouraged his son to keep company with Lu Chuanjin, and the two had a very good relationship. Your son understands, Hong Xuanji responded in a low voice. He resembled his father, Hong Yi, in appearance. But compared to Hong Yi in his youth, he lacked a bit of haughtiness and possessed a bit more steadiness. When Lu Chongsheng found out that Hong Yi was coming over, he went to the guest hall to greet him. Brother Lu. Uncle Lu. Both of them promptly said with respect. Haha, Brother Hong, Xuanji. Lu Chongsheng, in a green robe, smiled and appeared casual and at ease. Xuanji has been causing Brother Lu trouble these years. Hong Yi politely said to Lu Chongsheng. He was dressed in a purple brocade and wore a purple gold crown, and having long been accustomed to a life of dignity and high position, he carried an aura of authority without anger. Yet in the presence of Lu Chongsheng, he unconsciously took a very humble posture. Haha, Brother Hong, you're too courteous. Xuanji has performed quite well over the years, and there's no trouble at all, Lu Chongsheng said as he waved his hand. Since Lu Chuanjin had gone out into the world, Hong Xuanji had taken on a leadership role in the wine brewing workshop, and he was quite capable in both personal conduct and skill. Moreover, Lu Chongsheng had learned from his wife Chu Xinjin that, due to the relationship with Lu Chuanjin, his daughter Lu Caizhen and Hong Xuanji had grown quite close. Straight away, the two men sat down to catch up and chat. Who would have thought that among the 6 of us back then, 3 would become Foundation Establishment great cultivators? Such an achievement is enough for me to boast for many years. I have no regrets in this life, Hong Yi said with a smile, remarking with emotion. It was beyond his expectations that, 30 years ago, 6 of them were selected to join the Qingyun sect for the Immortal sect's assessment. As time passed, 3 of them consecutively broke through to foundation establishment. Brother Hong is still young. If you focus on cultivation, perhaps you too can break through to foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing noticed Hong Yi's cultivation level, at the 6th level energy refinement. If he put in the effort, he had a chance to attempt foundation establishment by the age of 60. Although the hope of successfully establishing his foundation was very slim. Brother Lu jests, "How could I dare to dream of such a thing as foundation establishment?" Hong Yi said with a shake of his head and laughter. Though there were 3 foundation establishment great cultivators around him, such an endeavor still seemed out of reach for him, and he dared not covet it. Currently, even a high-rank breakthrough elixir was too costly for him to consider buying without hesitation. Besides, now that his son, Hong Xuanji, proved to have such promise, if he, as a father, could save up a considerable sum of money, his son might have a future chance to break through to foundation establishment. Heh, Lu Chongqing chuckled and didn't dwell on the topic. He was aware that after becoming the Marquis of Rui, Hong Yi gradually lacked ambition in cultivation. Furthermore, given the other's age and spiritual root, unless there was a major fortuity, there indeed wasn't much hope for foundation establishment. After briefly catching up, they stayed at Bai Lake Mountain for 2 days before heading to Qingyun sect. 3 days later, a flying boat descended in front of the gates of Qingyun sect. Lu Chongqing took out a transmission talisman. Not long after, a verdant escape light flew from the gate, enveloped in the spiritual pressure of a foundation establishment cultivator. "Greetings, martial uncle." "Greetings, martial uncle." The disciples guarding the gate promptly offered their respects upon seeing the newcomer. Although they didn't necessarily recognize the person, in Qingyun sect, energy-refining cultivators addressed foundation establishment cultivators as martial uncle as a matter of course. Lu Daoist, Hong Daoist, the newcomer was Zhao Qingqing. Her skin was fair, her figure tall and graceful, wearing a green-colored dress, with her long, silky black hair neatly gathered, and with a plum-blossom jade hairpin slanting across it. Her beautiful features were adorned with a gentle smile. After breaking through to foundation establishment, her charisma was exceptional. Her entire being exuded a vibrant and fresh aura of flourishing plants and grass, elegant like an orchid in a secluded valley, touching the soul. "Zhao Daoist, congratulations on your breakthrough to foundation establishment." Lu Chongqing and Hong Yi bowed with their hands folded and then offered the congratulatory gifts they had prepared. "Thank you both, Daoist friends. Please, this way." Zhao Qingqing accepted the gifts and looked at Lu Chongqing with a tender gaze. It is customary to adjust one's state thoroughly after a breakthrough to ensure the vitality, energy, and spirit are abundant, and one's thoughts are clear. Sar the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At the time of her breakthrough, she had questioned her deepest heart and had come to understand many things more clearly. Then, the 3 of them entered the gate and came to a mountain peak filled with ancient pines and green cypresses, cascading waterfalls, and palaces reaching thousands of feet high where they descended at the waist of the mountain. "This spirit vein of Qingyun sect is truly grand," Lu Chongqing remarked, eyeing the many peaks of Qingyun sect, guessing each must contain at least a second-rank spirit vein, and he couldn't help feeling envious. Zhao Qingqing's modest foundation establishment celebration was to be held at her own abode. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 789, Foundation Establishment Celebration. Zhao Qingqing's initiative. The dwelling wasn't large, covering only about 7 or 8 acres. But it had everything one needed: a main courtyard, quiet rooms, gardens, ponds, spirit fields, a medicinal herb garden, and a beast pen. At this moment, the main hall was filled with a gathering of cultivators. Most of them were foundation establishment cultivators, with only a few energy-refining cultivators present. Although it was a minor celebration for the Foundation establishment, within Qingyun sect, Foundation establishment cultivators still held some weight, considered as part of the middle hierarchy. Therefore, whenever someone broke through to Foundation establishment, many fellow sect members and friends would come to offer congratulations and network. Especially for a female cultivator like Zhao Qingqing, who was skilled in the botany and pharmacology of spirit plants and had a vague body suitable for logistical support, many came with ulterior motives. The moment the three of them walked into the hall, many eyes landed straight on them. Hong Yi's face turned pale, his body felt heavy, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. There were more than 10 Foundation establishment cultivators in the room. Although they weren't deliberately exuding their Foundation establishment spiritual pressure, they didn't completely suppress it either. As a result, when such gazes converged, it posed a huge pressure for an ordinary energy-refining cultivator. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on. Kolu Changsheng's body exuded an invisible spiritual pressure, which made Hong Yi relax all over. This is my good friend, Lu Changsheng of Bai Lake Mountain. This is my good friend, Hong Yi. Lu Daoist, Hong Daoist, please take a seat. These are all my fellow sect brothers and sisters, no need to be polite. Seeing this, Zhao Qingqing immediately introduced them out loud to ease the awkwardness. Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng. He is indeed the Lu Mountain Lord of Bai Lake Mountain, so very handsome. I've heard that this mountain master of Bai Lake Mountain is incomparably handsome, and it truly isn't an undeserved reputation. Once Zhao Qingqing introduced him, the crowd in the hall turned their attention to Lu Changsheng. Although they were disciples of Qingyun sect, the name of Bai Lake Mountain Master, Lu Changsheng, was not unfamiliar to them. Whether it was his defeat of the Yu family's 3 Foundation establishment cultivators or the suppression of Xiahou money, as well as the slaying of 6 robber cultivators during the Red Leaf Valley market incident years ago, his reputation had greatly risen. I, Lu Ruyan, have long heard of Mountain Lord Lu's great name. It is a fortune to meet you today, so I'd like to honor Mountain Lord Lu with a toast, said a buxom woman in a yellow dress, picking up a cup of spiritual wine and greeting Lu Changsheng with a smile. I am Fang Hong, and I have seen Lu Daoist. I am Wu Jiujiu, and I have seen Lu Daoist. I am. Several cultivators in the hall warmly greeted Lu Changsheng. Although as disciples of the Immortal sects, they usually did not hold loose cultivators and small family forces in high regard, someone like Lu Changsheng, who had shown remarkable combat abilities and was also a second-tier top-level talisman master, was naturally someone they were very willing to make connections with. Lu Daoist, Hong Daoist. Han Lin was also there to attend the celebration, and he greeted Lu Changsheng and Hong Yi. Han Daoist. Hong Yi cupped his hands in salute towards Han Lin and took a seat next to him. He knew gatherings like this were out of his world. Not all Foundation establishment great cultivators were like Lu Changsheng, who remembered old friendships and were willing to make connections with him. Everyone is too kind. Lu Changsheng, under the enthusiastic and proactive greetings of the others, quickly became integrated into the group. He was somewhat surprised that Xiao Xia had not come. Though Xiao Xia and Zhao Qingqing weren't particularly close, such a small Foundation establishment celebration would typically warrant her congratulations. Through asking around, he found out that due to the matter with Xiahou money, Xiao Xia had gone out on a mission. While drinking and chatting with everyone, Lu Changsheng noticed a plump cultivator casting envious glances at him from time to time. After paying a bit more attention, he learned the identity of this individual. It turned out to be Zhao Qingqing's master's grandson, named Lu Gongliang, who had failed his Foundation establishment breakthrough 3 years ago. With that, Lu Changsheng roughly guessed why the other party was envious. However, as long as the other party did not provoke him, Lu Changsheng couldn't be bothered to deal with him. The celebration lasted a long time, with people coming and going, some leaving halfway, and others arriving later to give their congratulations and join the event. As night fell and they had their fill of food and drink, Lu Daoist, Hong Daoist, as it's getting late, why don't you both stay here for the night? Zhao Qingqing said to Lu Chongsheng and Hong Yi. Since that's the case, well, trouble you then, Zhao Daoist, said Lu Chongsheng after a brief pause. He had intended to visit his children on this trip. Now that it was already late and he had drunk so much, it wasn't convenient for him to go there. Soon after, Zhao Qingqing arranged accommodation for both of them. Lu Daoist. After showing Lu Chongsheng to his room, Zhao Qingqing didn't immediately leave. What's the matter? Lu Chongsheng looked towards the tall and graceful Zhao Qingqing in her blue-green silk dress, fresh and refined. She had drunk quite a lot, her beautiful and refined face blushed with a hint of tipsiness, adding a bit more charm to her demeanor. Although cultivators can use their mana to dispel the effects of alcohol, most wouldn't do so as it removes the pleasure of drinking and dissipates the benefits of the spiritual wine. If it weren't for Lu Daoist's premium Foundation Establishment elixir, Qingqing certainly wouldn't have been able to break through to Foundation Establishment, so I am deeply grateful to Lu Daoist, Zhao Qingqing said, her eyes filled with gratitude as she gave a deep bow. SAR the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She had indeed succeeded in her Foundation Establishment, but having gone through the process herself, she realized just how difficult it was. She knew that if she hadn't had Lu Changsheng's Foundation Establishment elixir, based on the meridian protecting elixir she had prepared originally, she surely would have failed the breakthrough. Zhao Daoist is too kind. The main reason for your breakthrough is your own efforts. The Foundation Establishment elixir simply added a final touch, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile, waving his hand lightly to indicate that there was no need for formality. With such a favor from Lu Daoist, Qingqing feels ashamed and doesn't know how to repay you, said Zhao Qingqing, standing tall and blushing as she looked at Lu Chongsheng. Then, as if gathering her courage, she took hold of Lu Changsheng's hand, her eyes filled with shyness. Lu Chongsheng was slightly startled when Zhao Qingqing's soft and delicate hand grasped his own. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 790, Foundation Establishment Celebration. Zhao Qingqing's initiative whiffs of intoxicating scent that delighted the heart and spleen, rich and fragrant, filled the air, and a pair of tender, bashful eyes full of gentle affection looked at him. Lu Daoist, you said before, Zhao Qingqing, her face flushed with shyness, began softly. However, before she could finish speaking, a warm breath rushed towards her face, and she felt her lips being captured. Lu Chongsheng pulled the beautiful woman tightly into his arms, skillfully seizing the sweetness. Since Zhao Qingqing was so forward, he naturally would not hold back, pretending to be a gentleman. After all, with matters such as these, if you're not proactive and seize the opportunity, you might just miss it. In the face of this sudden storm, Zhao Qingqing's delicate frame shuddered, her body rigid yet tingling. Subsequently, she felt a large hand traverse the towering peaks of her chest, sweeping over the mountains and causing waves of numbness through her body. Her shapely legs trembled and could hardly support her. In such a situation, her only choice was to lift her slender arms and gently cling to Lu Changsheng's neck. Gently. I can't breathe. Source, web novel. Updated on. It was unclear how much time had passed when Zhao Qingqing, having just achieved Foundation Establishment, was gasping for air. Her clear, beautiful face flushed red, her lustrous black hair became disheveled, and her bright, beautiful eyes were filled with emotions and timidity. Her green dress too bore the wrinkles of their embrace. Qingqing, Lu Chongsheng held Zhao Qingqing's hand, his gaze deep with feeling as he looked at her. Lu Lang, be gentle. Zhao Qingqing's eyes looked drunken, her face flushed, her forehead coy, voicing her nervous anxiety. As soon as she finished speaking, her lips were again forcefully claimed. Without a doubt, this was a prelude. Intimately, the two moved towards the bedside, accompanied by rustling sounds. The green dress began to slip away, revealing bright lights, the skin beneath as tender and pale as jade. Before long, the beauty was left only in her pair of green embroidered shoes and the white silk stockings wrapped around her jade feet. Zhao Qingqing had a fine figure, well proportioned. But what attracted the most attention were her shapely, long legs, not just for their length, but also for their plump and firm texture. Possibly due to her cultivation technique, her skin was extraordinarily fair and smooth, with a refreshing fragrance. Qingqing. Lu Changsheng carried the beauty to the bed, intending to say something. But seeing her shy face, her eyes timid yet inviting, looking ready to be plucked, he said no more. At this time, silence spoke volumes. Under the hazy night, two figures in the room gradually merged as one. The next day, the morning light pierced through layers of clouds, shining through the lattice windows into the loft. Zhao Qingqing woke up, her hair disheveled, her skin rosy white and radiant, glowing with a lustrous sheen. She lay there uncovered, save for the exquisite jade feet clad in white silk stockings. "You're awake." At that moment, Lu Changsheng awoke, speaking warmly with a laugh. His demeanor was calm and natural, as if a couple years deep in love, utterly at ease. Zhao Qingqing looked at the handsome face before her, the robust and powerful body, and her cheeks tinged pink. Though somewhat tipsy the previous night, she was more or less lucid, merely emboldened by the alcohol. She just hadn't expected that her long-mustered courage, barely put into action, would be met with such initiative from Lu Changsheng, and then her mind became as muddled. Zhao Qingqing replied softly, suddenly at a loss for words. After all, though she had been prepared, she hadn't expected things to happen so fast. "Do you have matters to attend to today? If not, you might as well rest a little longer." Lu Changsheng spoke softly. "I've just broken through to Foundation establishment, and there are some new affairs in the sect that I need to get acquainted with, Sir the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality." Zhao Qingqing replied, her voice husky and alluring. "Has your master been giving you trouble?" Lu Changsheng asked. He knew Zhao Qingqing had not been valued in her sect because of her master's attitude, forcing her to rely on herself. "Before, the master was just neglecting me, not making things too difficult. Since my breakthrough, he has taken the initiative to visit me, entrusting many matters of the herb garden to me," Zhao Qingqing said softly. This breakthrough allowed her to see more of the world's indifference and warmth. For example, during the small celebration of her foundation establishment, many fellow disciples whom she had never met before, or even knew little, came to congratulate her. Even her master, right after her breakthrough, congratulated her and extended his goodwill. It was precisely because of this that she felt even more grateful for Lu Changsheng's timely help, deeming such kindness beyond repayment. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 791, Emperor's Flow Liquid, by Ling's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment _1 inch. If anything happens, you can tell me, and you're welcome to come to Bai Lake Mountain anytime, Lu Changsheng said warmly. He didn't say that he wanted Zhao Qingqing to follow him back to Bai Lake Mountain. For one, she was currently in the Qingyun sect, which was clearly better, and it would be convenient to go to Bai Lake Mountain later on. Moreover, as cultivators and Foundation Establishment cultivators, there was no need to insist on getting married immediately. Sir the Nephire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Since they were fellow practitioners, holding a ceremony to become cultivation partners in the future would suffice. In fact, Lu Changsheng also hoped that his wife, concubines, and cultivation partners could have their own accomplishments and not necessarily be confined to Bai Lake Mountain. As for having children, as long as it came naturally, love would certainly bear fruit. "Okay," Zhao Qingqing responded softly. The two snuggled and chatted for a while, then got up, dressed, and walked out of the room. Although it was Zhao Qingqing's first time, she was after all a foundation-building great cultivator and didn't suffer too much. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on. Moreover, since she had a vague body and cultivated wood attribute techniques, her recovery was extraordinary. Hong Yi was somewhat surprised to see Lu Chongsheng and Zhao Qingxing walking together intimately. Indeed, when he first met Zhao Qingxing the day before, he noticed her looking at Lu Chongsheng with more warmth than in the early years, but he didn't expect them to be so intimately natural. Some guesses formed in his mind, but he didn't ask further. He knew this was not something he should concern himself with. It was like earlier on when he realized the relationship between Lu Chongsheng and Xiao Siye seemed more than ordinary. Brother Lu, Daoist Zhao. Hong Yi greeted them with a hearty smile on his face. Brother Hong, am planning to see my children before returning, will you come with me or wait here for me? Lu Chongsheng asked Hong Yi. Brother Lu, please feel free to go, just let me know when you're leaving, Hong Yi replied. All right. Lu Chongsheng nodded and then went with Zhao Qingxing to see their children. Although Zhao Qingxing also had things to attend to, there was no hurry. Moreover, as an outsider, it wasn't convenient for Lu Chongsheng to wander around the Qingyun sect alone. Tisk, Hong Yi watched as Lu Chongsheng and Zhao Qingxing turned into beams of escape light and left, feeling quite emotional. He vividly recalled how 10 years ago, Xiao Siye invited Lu Chongsheng to experience the mortal world, and their relationship gradually grew closer. Now it was the same with Zhao Qingxing. But when did the two of them become patrons of Bai Lake Mountain? Or Foundation establishers? Hong Yi pondered a little before shaking his head, dispelling the thought. When he saw Xiao Siye asking Lu Chongsheng to travel the mortal world, he had felt a bit bitter. But now, seeing Lu Chongsheng with Zhao Qingxing, all he thought was that Lu Chongsheng was awesome. Daddy, Auntie Zhao. Father, Auntie Zhao. Guided by Zhao Qingxing, it didn't take long for Lu Chongsheng to meet his children, Lu Yunlu and Lu Xingyue. The brother and sister were both dressed in Qingyun sect disciples' robes. One was graceful and elegant, the other handsome and upright. Seeing the siblings before him, he couldn't help but think of his other children far away in the Jianghu sect, Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. His children before him lived close by and had returned home once 2 years ago. Yet his children in that distant nation hadn't been seen for 9 years. Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu were even a year older than Lu Xingyue, and he imagined they must have grown up too. How have you been in the sect these years? Lu Chongsheng looked at his children before him and asked gently. Daddy, we've been good in the sect. I've broken through the 5th level of energy refinement, and not long ago, I was promoted to a middle-grade physician, Lu Xingyue said with a hint of happiness on her face, chattering about her own situation. Her brother Lu Yunlu also joined the conversation. But with a relatively subdued personality and few words, he was at the 5th level of energy refinement and a 3rd-grade artifact refiner. While chatting with his children, Lu Chongsheng had thought about meeting Xia Zhaoyang, but upon learning that this good-for-nothing brother-in-law was out on a mission, he understood better. He was aware that the affairs of the Qingyun sect were roughly divided into external and internal duties. Like Zhao Qingxing and Han Lin, they were involved in internal duties and were not adept at fighting. Most of their time was spent cultivating within the sect, handling internal affairs, and producing for the sect. While people like Xiao Siye and Xia Zhaoyang, who focused on cultivation and had no skills, often chose to go on external missions. Such as overseeing the marketplace or joining the enforcement hall, battle hall, and so on. After a brief visit with his children, Lu Chongsheng announced that both had affairs to attend to and that, in the absence of their uncle, they could also seek out Zhao Qingxing often. Now that Zhao Qingxing had broken through to Foundation establishment and become the person in charge of the medicinal garden, she held not insignificant power and status, even higher than that of Xia Zhaoyang, an inner sect disciple. After visiting his children, Lu Chongsheng didn't stay for long and left with Hong Yi aboard a spirit boat, returning to Bai Lake Mountain. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. During this time, Ling Zixiao had settled on a cultivation method, choosing the 12 Heavens demon spirit art. She chose this technique partly because she liked it, and also because it was a better fit for her than the vermilion bird sky-scorching art. After these months of cultivation, Bai Ling had finally refined his spiritual power to be smooth and perfect, ready for foundation establishment. In just 16 short years, it's time for the foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing thought of how he had picked up Bai Ling just 16 years ago, and now she was about to attempt foundation establishment. He couldn't help but marvel at the speed of her talent. None of his many children had yet broken through the 7th level energy refinement in terms of cultivation, which made him sigh. He could only hope that his 2 precious daughters and his son Lu Xingchen with a 3rd grade spiritual root would grow up to be more promising. As for Bai Ling's foundation establishment, he had made arrangements in advance, ensuring a foundation establishment elixir was ready. As for the breakthrough, it would take place within the Mount Sumeru cave heaven. Not only was there a spiritual eye spring in the cave heaven, but Mount Sumeru also provided abundant spiritual energy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 792, Emperor's Flow Liquid. Bai Ling's breakthrough in foundation establishment. Therefore, one could directly undergo the foundation establishment in the Mount Sumeru cave heaven without being noticed by others or any powers. In preparation for Bai Ling's breakthrough in foundation establishment, Lu Chongqing had specially asked Mount Sumeru to gather spiritual energy in advance, bringing the spiritual energy of his closed-door cultivation chamber to the 2nd-tier top level, forming a thin mist visible to the naked eye. Little Linger, are you ready? In the cultivation chamber, Lu Chongqing played with an ancient beast taming charm in his hand and looked at Bai Ling before him, speaking in a gentle voice. CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The reason for holding the ancient beast taming charm was twofold. On one hand, to use Hong Lian to observe the mutations in Bai Ling's bloodline. On the other hand, it was to assist Bai Ling by using the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon he had raised, helping her transform the nature's spiritual energy to ensure a risk-free breakthrough in foundation establishment. Brother, I am ready, Bai Ling said earnestly with her delicate and pure face. Having spent many years at Bai Lake Mountain, she understood what foundation establishment represented. She knew that once she broke through the foundation establishment, she might be able to help her brother. Then, under Lu Changsheng's watchful eye, she closed her distinct black and white, peach blossom-like eyes and silently operated the Black Dragon Codex. Not knowing how long had passed, when she realized her condition had reached the peak her brother had spoken of, she hesitated no longer and swallowed the premium foundation establishment elixir. It started. Lu Chongqing watched Bai Ling silently. The first of the 3 barriers to foundation establishment was the Qi and Blood barrier. Countless streams of nature's spiritual energy converged and surged against Bai Ling's physical body. Lu Chongqing had no worries about this barrier. On one hand, the Black Dragon Codex was for magical dual cultivation, and regular practice included tempering the physical body. On the other hand, it should be Bai Ling's bloodline that made her physical body much stronger than normal people, supple and tough, full of resilience. Unlike Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjun, who not only spent a lot of time with him but even needed to call for other concubines. But Bai Ling, though she appeared delicate and timid, could withstand. Indeed, under the onslaught of the nature's spiritual energy, Bai Ling showed no signs of distress, allowing it to wash over her. As time passed, the spiritual energy slowly entered her meridians and dantian, converging towards the Sea of Qi to start the magic barrier. Lu Chongqing was also very confident about the magic barrier. Although his family was capable of utilizing elixir medicines and the 2 often dual cultivated, Lu Chongqing had always kept a strict watch on their foundational strength. Moreover, the cultivation technique that Bai Ling practiced, the Black Dragon Codex, was a top-tier peripheral sect-level technique, offering a very solid foundation. However, to leave nothing to chance, Lu Changsheng still shouted towards the ancient beast-taming charm, Hong Lian. Yes, young master, the voice of Hong Lian responded, light and graceful. In an instant, an aquatic aura spread out, filling the room. It was the presence of the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon from the ancient beast-taming charm. These Dao soldiers had been transformed into Blackwater Dragon spirit weapons by Lu Changsheng's Blackwater Dragon spell, and their insides were subtly practicing the Blackwater Dragon spell as well, their aura in line with the Black Dragon Codex. So, with the ancient beast-taming charms exhaling and inhaling of spiritual energy, it was equivalent to helping Bai Ling refine the surrounding nature's spiritual energy. As time went by, Bai Ling began the third barrier of foundation establishment, the divine sense barrier. Little linger, Lu Changsheng called out softly. Bai Ling immediately opened her eyes, looked at Lu Changsheng before her, and then quickly swallowed the jade soul flower prepared beside her. Although Bai Ling might not need the jade soul flower, a foundation establishment spiritual object, since his family had the means, Lu Changsheng was still willing to play it safe. After swallowing the jade soul flower, Bai Ling hastily closed her eyes again and concentrated on breaking through, operating the cultivation technique. Boom! Not knowing how much time had passed, Bai Ling's mind thundered, her mental spirit transformed, and between her eyebrows seemed to open a third eye. Through this eye, even with her eyes closed, she could clearly see her surroundings, even her own seated form. Bai Ling did not get distracted. Following Lu Changsheng's teaching, she let her divine sense control her physical body and mana, oppressing the sea of qi in her dantian, turning the spiritual power into mana, thereby allowing the Dan lake to transform into the true lake, lifting the Dao platform, casting off the mortal body. The three barriers of foundation establishment have been passed. Lu Changsheng quietly observed this scene. With the completion of the three barriers of foundation establishment, the final step began. The surrounding nature's spiritual energy started to swirl wildly, forming a whirlpool of spiritual energy outside Changsheng Hall. The spiritual energy of the entire Mount Sumeru cave heaven was drawn to this place. The three barriers of foundation establishment have been passed. In the cave heaven, Ling Zixiao and Lu Miaoge felt the stir and knew that Bai Ling had started the final step of foundation establishment. At this moment, they were not cultivating and let Mount Sumeru gather all the spiritual energy in the cave heaven for Bai Ling, to assist her breakthrough. Inside the cultivation chamber, Lu Changsheng was bored as he watched Bai Ling push through her breakthrough. Just then, suddenly, a mysterious fluctuation accompanied by a system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the number of spiritual root offspring reaching 50, earning 1 targeted lottery chance. Lu Changsheng knew that a concubine at home had given birth to a spiritual root offspring. Through this fluctuation, he knew the child's spiritual root was ordinary, probably only a 7th grade spiritual root. This was normal, after all. Both parents possessed a spiritual root, which only relatively improved the child's spiritual root, and it wasn't possible for all of them to have middle grade or even higher quality spiritual roots. Just a targeted lottery. Lu Changsheng felt slightly disappointed seeing this lottery, as he had been looking forward to this milestone, hoping it would offer him an advanced level lottery or something of the sort. Targeted it is, then, but which category should I choose? Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, pondering which to draw. In the early years when a targeted lottery appeared, he leaned towards cultivation techniques. But now, after having drawn quite a few rewards from the system's various categories, he wasn't sure which one to choose. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 793, Emperor's Flow Liquid, Bai Ling's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment. Since that's the case, let's use the process of elimination, first rule out cultivation techniques and magical treasures, then skills, and there's no rush with pet beasts either, Lu Changsheng pondered silently in his heart. What he least lacked now was cultivation techniques. Although system cultivation techniques easily produced fine-quality items, he really had no pressing need for them at the moment. Thanks to Xiahou Wuo's sponsorship, he also temporarily lacked nothing in the way of magical treasures. As for skills, he did want a formation or artifact refining skill to make himself all-round, but the randomness was too great. Regarding pet beasts, Su Ruyan had been obedient and worked diligently as a tool, being used by Hong Lian for alchemy, artifact refining, and helping with formations. Lu Chongsheng also planned to get her a pet beast. But there was no hurry for such things, no need to waste his designated artifact draw for this alone. The randomness of elixir medicines is also too great, but treasures and other aspects seem not bad. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chongsheng made his decision. Though these two types of draws were also full of randomness, anything produced by the system was guaranteed to be fine quality. Especially in the other category, items such as Peach Blossom Goo, Hope Goo, Golden Armor Bean Mother, Seed of Law, Endless Guileful Head seemed very good to him. Since that's the case, he'll choose others then. After making his decision, Lu Chongsheng silently commanded, "System, initiate the draw, specify other category." In an instant, the drawing interface appeared before his eyes. From the initial rotation of golden radiance between 7 areas, it transformed into a dazzling array of natural treasures. There were natural treasures, as well as alcohol, spiritual liquid, goo insects, corpse refining, puppets, and all sorts of chaos, along with a bunch of things that Lu Chongsheng couldn't recognize. One could only say that the other category encompassed far too many things. A moment later, the draw stopped. Streams of golden, viscous liquid appeared, with the system prompt chiming in. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Emperor's Nectar. Emperor's Nectar, what is this? Lu Chongsheng raised an eyebrow at the prize he had drawn. Immediately, information about Emperor's Nectar appeared in the system space. Emperor's Nectar, rank, 3rd rank, description, the essence of the moon's energy from heaven and earth, which can bestow spirituality to flowers, plants, and trees, transforming them into demon plants. It is greatly nourishing for demons, devils, specters, and can enhance cultivation level and increase spirituality. Lu Chongsheng's eyes revealed a trace of joy upon seeing this reward. Although this Emperor's Nectar mainly had beneficial effects for demons and specters, his very own protective divine tree was, in fact, a demon plant. Moreover, aside from the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he also had the luminous treasure tree, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, 1 spirit plant and 1 demon plant. Mount Sumeru would need to consume its origin source vitality to nurture a companion spirit plant. With this Emperor's Nectar, might it compensate for its consumption, thus nurturing a companion spirit plant? Lu Chongsheng's thoughts paused, speculating in his mind. He had not yet refined the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom for Lu Miaohuan. On one hand, he was planning to wait a bit longer for Ling Zixiao to recover, then take Lu Miaohuan on a long trip to visit the Jianghu sect. On the other hand, he was considering the possibility of drawing another spirit plant, so both Lu Miaohuan and Chu Zhenjin could choose and cultivate one, showing himself to be an impartial husband. After all, for the first delicate wife he had lured back home, Lu Chongsheng still had considerable affection. He did not immediately extract the item, continuing to observe Bai Ling, who was going through a foundation establishment breakthrough. He decided to wait until Bai Ling had completed her foundation establishment before exploring the Emperor's Nectar. Time slipped by, and after an undefined period, a surge of foundation establishment mana radiated from Bai Ling's Qi Ocean core in her dantian. Foundation establishment was successful, Lu Chongsheng noted with a lifted spirit. Sar the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Young Master. At this moment, Hong Lian communicated to Lu Chongsheng via transmission. Right away, Lu Chongsheng approached Bai Ling, placing his hand on the position of her lower abdomen to examine her current condition. Hong Lian also projected her spirit force to check on Bai Ling's status. As a 3rd-rank beast tamer and nascent soul true lord, she had only previously confirmed that Bai Ling's blood was a variation of the demon race. But she couldn't be sure of the specifics. Brother, Bai Ling felt somewhat shy as she saw her brother take care so immediately after her breakthrough. At this moment inside her dantian, the Tao foundation of the black dragon rose, bursting with endless glimmers, as if a black dragon was roaring, providing her with marrow cleansing, scouring every inch of her blood and flesh, every inch of her body. Both Lu Changsheng and Hong Lian looked at Bai Ling's inner condition with a look of surprise and doubt. For, as the black dragon Tao foundation shed her mortal body, Bai Ling's blood, veins, and bones all displayed a pearly white luster, matching the color of her Buddha scales. This pearly white luster combined with her mana, allowing Lu Changsheng to discern the operational routes of the Black Dragon Codex, which, like Lu Maiage's Water of Virtue technique, showed certain inexplicable changes. Not only that, Lu Changsheng noticed that Bai Ling's clear and smooth scales had taken on an additional and sudden quality of white gold at this very moment. Her white and delicate skin became even more flawless, fully on par with Lu Maiage's complexion. Hong Lian, what's happening here? Lu Changsheng inquired of Hong Lian. The more he interacted with her, the more he realized that the little girl he had brought home was not simple. Young master. Bai Ling's condition is certainly due to awakening her demon race bloodline. The bloodline is reverting, it can't be wrong, but this bloodline is quite extraordinary, and I even suspect it's the bloodline of some sort of true spirit, Hong Lian said softly. True spirit bloodline. Lu Changsheng was astonished to hear this. He was well aware that any demon beast with even a trace of a true spirit bloodline was extraordinary, essentially a heaven-rank demon beast. And Bai Ling, being of the human race, having a true spirit bloodline was utterly astonishing, wasn't it? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 794, Emperor's Flow Liquid, Bai Ling's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment _4" That's right, before I met the young master, I had never seen a true spirit-level demon beast. But in the world, one can still find some demon beasts with a diluted true spirit bloodline, or even members of the human race. I once heard that in the central continent, there are several major families with the true spirit bloodline flowing through their veins, known as true spirit families. Bai Ling might have a diluted true spirit bloodline in her body, but due to a mutation in the bloodline, she reverted to an ancestral form, thereby awakening some of the power of the bloodline. Hong Lian voiced her guess. True spirit families? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised when he heard this. He could understand that some demon beasts possess a bit of the true spirit bloodline, but how could humans also have the true spirit bloodline running through their veins? He knew that the more powerful the demon beast and the higher the grade of its bloodline, the harder it was to transform. For a true spirit to transform, it would be extremely difficult. Moreover, it was already difficult for humans and the demon race to conceive offspring, let alone conceive without transformation. The mere thought of it was unimaginable. Are these true spirit families the descendants of humans and true spirits? Lu Changsheng curiously asked. I'm not sure about that, I've only heard of the existence of such true spirit families. Hong Lian said softly. Alright, as long as it's not a bad thing, it doesn't matter. Sarch * the novel _fire. ed website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng didn't pay too much attention to the issue of the true spirit bloodline. His examination with Hong Lian was also based on her previous statement that in Bai Ling's case, every time she made a breakthrough in a major realm, some of her bloodline's power would awaken, resulting in certain changes. It might be possible to discover something. After Bai Ling completed her transformation, Lu Changsheng noticed that her blood had taken on a bit more of a platinum luster. He couldn't help but think that if the power of her bloodline continued to awaken, Bai Ling's blood, meridians, and bones might completely turn white. Brother, Bai Ling looked at Lu Changsheng with her clear, peach-shaped eyes that were misty, shy, joyful, and expectant, and her voice was sweet and meltingly soft. Logically, after cultivating the Black Dragon Codex and breaking through to Foundation establishment, her transformation should convey a sense of majesty. But Bai Ling became even more innocently charming. She seemed ethereal and not of this world, yet every smile and gesture revealed seductive allure, enchanting and captivating, stirring one's mental spirit. Lu Chongqing knew that Bai Ling's bloodline power was more powerful than the changes brought about by the cultivation technique. Even the cultivation technique adapted its flow to accommodate the power of her bloodline. Seeing her pure yet desirous face eagerly looking forward to his praise and reward, Lu Chongqing enveloped her moist and tender lips without hesitation. His palm caressed her crystal clear and silky smooth skin that seemed flawless and as if it might burst with the gentlest touch. Although Bai Ling's scales had taken on more of a platinum color, the texture did not change. In fact, they felt even silkier and smoother to the touch. Along with the rustling sound, a graceful figure with a perfect shape emerged, wrapped in what seemed like a platinum scale armor. Her body was filled with demonic charm and primal instinct, inexplicably heating one's blood. Lu Chongqing paid no mind to the existence of Hong Lian in the ancient beast-taming charm. Initially, when he made his move on Su Ruyan, he would have Ling Zixiao or Lu Miaoyun take the ancient beast-taming charm and leave. But later he gave it some thought and decided Hong Lian was not an outsider. Since she was there, why not? Doing all sorts of things to her chosen destined girl in front of Grandpa seemed to have its own unique flavor. Lu Chongqing embraced Bai Ling's incredibly seductive waist. Only one who had experienced it could know how supple, slender, and tight it was, and how breathtaking it could be. Accompanied by a heart-stirring, soft moan, the flawless body undulated, and the platinum scales began to suffuse with a hint of pink, appearing dreamlike and illusory. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 795, The Dao Companion Ceremony, Heading to Jianghu Sect. _1 Bai Ling's breakthrough to Foundation establishment did not have a significant impact on Bai Lake Mountain. Or to put it another way, only Lu Chongqing, Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaoyun, and a few others were aware of this development. Few knew that this girl, who usually seemed timid and preoccupied with her cultivation, lacking a sense of presence, had now become a foundation-building great cultivator. Search * The Novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After Bai Ling's breakthrough, Lu Chongqing assigned her the task of nurturing the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon. She was to find Hong Lian every 10 to 15 days and use the mana of the Black Dragon to nurture the Dao soldier. Inside the cave dwelling of Chongqing Hall, extract. Lu Chongqing looked at the imperial syrup in the system space, and his mental spirit stirred slightly. Instantly, a basin-sized stone trough appeared. It contained a viscous liquid with a golden sheen. This liquid looked as if it had life, sometimes shining brilliantly like flowing light and at times moving quietly like a stream, emanating a rich scent of vitality. So this is the imperial syrup. Lu Chongqing examined the imperial syrup in the stone trough. Through the system, he knew that this substance was formed gradually when the essence of the moonlight during the Gengshun night converged with the milky fluid from Millennium Clock stones. The basin of imperial syrup before him was incredibly rare, requiring at least hundreds of years to form. Speaking of which, I wonder if this imperial syrup has any effect on Zi Shao's dragon roar physique, Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, thinking of Ling Zixiao's condition. Ling Zixiao's dragon roar physique was currently quite stable. But as she began cultivation, the issue was bound to re-emerge. Though it was possible to suppress it by plundering the origin source with the dragon invocation technique. From his previous hands-on experience, he knew the plundering was extraordinarily dangerous due to the potential backlash from the dragon roar origin. It had to be suppressed by some cold object, much like Nangong Meili's profound Yin Jade liquid from before. It's best to store some as a precaution. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chongsheng took out a purple jade gourd and filled it with nearly half of the imperial syrup. Through the system, he knew humans could consume the imperial syrup to aid in mana recovery and cultivation level enhancement. However, the effects were not as substantial as the improvement it offered to demons, ghosts, and other malign beings. Since Shiyu has a moonlight spirit body, maybe this imperial syrup has some benefits for her too, Lu Chongsheng thought of Xiao Xie's condition, contemplating to himself. By this count, the amount of imperial syrup he had might not be enough to share. Sigh. He exhaled and called out, Mount Sumeru. Master. The ethereal voice of Mount Sumeru echoed. Although Lu Chongsheng was in the confined space of his cave dwelling, as long as he was in the Mount Sumeru cave heaven, Mount Sumeru could be everywhere. As soon as Lu Chongsheng called out, it could immediately sense and respond. This imperial syrup should be helpful to you, take it. If this amount of imperial syrup is enough for you to nurture an accompanying spirit plant, then try to cultivate a third rank one, Lu Chongsheng directed Mount Sumeru. No matter what, he thought to maximize the effects and use it to improve Mount Sumeru. Thank you, Master. Mount Sumeru's voice was soft and pure in its gratitude, lacking any emotion of coquetry. This imperial syrup, mainly used to enhance spirituality for demon beasts and plants, I wonder if it can help Mount Sumeru make a notable improvement in its spirituality, Lu Chongsheng suddenly thought. As a true spirit-level demon plant, Mount Sumeru's spirituality was exceptionally high. But compared to humans, it still lacked emotion. He then saw a ray of golden light showering down, illuminating the imperial syrup, which Mount Sumeru began to absorb slowly. After finishing the task, he didn't continue his seclusion but went out to spend time with his wives and children. Now that Ling Zixio's injuries had largely healed and by Ling, a new combatant, had joined the family, he planned to visit the Jianghu sect in Yu country with Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan after some time to see his children who lived far away in that nation. In Yu country, at the Jianghu sect. The Jianghu sect was currently hosting a sword trial festival, and it was bustling beneath the main peak. Many outer sect and inner sect disciples were participating or waiting, and countless disciples who weren't competing also gathered to spectate. Even if they weren't competing, joining the excitement and witnessing other cultivators' battles could broaden their horizons and yield gains. Hu, peng peng peng, chong chong chong, on 3 spell formation arenas, each dozens of feet wide, disciples were engaged in combat. Above each arena, executors and elders sat high up, ready to intervene in case participants couldn't hold back and accidentally caused a fatality during the fray. After all, such festivals were designed to temper disciples, and naturally, they didn't wish to see casualties. Su Rong is too hesitant and indecisive, and she's going to lose, Lu Qingshan and his sister Lu Qingzhu, seated at the competitors' area of Tianyuan Peak, commented as they watched the central arena. Huh? Lu Qingzhu perked up upon hearing her brother's words, watched the central arena intently, and tilted her head, unsure of how he had reached his conclusion. However, shortly thereafter, a female cultivator of modest beauty dressed in Jianghu sect robes flew backward and crashed against the arena's spell formation barrier following her opponent's offensive. How about that, little Zhu, was I not right? Lu Qingshan wore a slightly smug expression. Brother is amazing. Lu Qingzhu looked surprised before vigorously nodding her head, eliciting hearty laughter from Lu Qingshan. Tianji Peak's Zhao Guang wins. At that moment, the high-up executor in charge of supervising the competition announced the result. The youth known as Zhao Guang bowed to the air above before stepping down from the arena. The fallen female cultivator was taken to receive medical attention as per the arrangement by the medics at the side of the stage. Jinyun Peak's Yin Yen, Tianyuan Peak's Lu Qingshan. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 796, the Dao Companion Ceremony, heading to Jianghu sect. The presiding executor held the jade scroll, announcing without any expression on his face. "Little Bamboo, watch your brother perform." Upon hearing this, Lu Qingshan stood up and walked towards the arena. "Brother, be careful," Lu Qingzhu said with concern, making a cheering gesture. "Ha ha ha, don't worry." Lu Qingshan, with a carefree expression, playfully tousled his little sister's hair, messing up her smooth locks. Though the siblings were only half a month apart in age, Lu Qingshan seemed much older. "That's Lu Qingshan, Tian Yuan Elder's personal disciple. I've heard that brother Lu has a Gungjin body constitution, but I don't know whether it's true or not. What a pity that he's only at the 6th level energy refinement, while Yin Yen is at the 8th level energy refinement, and comes from the renowned Yin family. He probably has a lot of fine magic artifacts, even talismans on him." For Lu Qingshan to have fought his way to this round at 6th level energy refinement shows his strength should not be underestimated. As a disciple of Elder Tian Yuan, Lu Qingshan mustn't lack in those either. I once heard that Jinyun Peak and Tian Yuan Peak don't get along well. I wonder if Yin Yen will strike with full force. Many onlookers turned their gazes toward Lu Qingshan and Yin Yen, who had stepped into the ring, chattering among themselves. At this point in the sword trial tournament, the preliminaries had passed and anyone who had made it this far possessed certain skills. Moreover, as one of only 2 disciples from Tian Yuan Peak in the Jianghu sect, Lu Qingshan had a bit of a reputation. As soon as he appeared, he caused a stir among the cultivators present. "So you're Lu Qingshan, I've heard that when you were at 4th level energy refinement, you had the audacity to draw your sword against our Peak's disciples? Quite brave indeed. To show my respect, I'll take you seriously and hope you won't disappoint me." Yin Yen, dressed in the uniform of the Jianghu sect disciples, was tall and imposing, holding a jade-quality sword in his hand. The sword gleamed with an ever-changing light, at times dazzling, at times revealing its sharpness. Lu Qingshan responded indifferently with a light hum. The battle commenced only after the presiding executor overhead declared the beginning of the match. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yin Yen formed a hand seal, causing a windless fog to rise on the platform, shrouding him in a thick mist. His flying sword disappeared into the mist and, accompanied by the rolling fog, attacked Lu Qingshan. Clang! A golden, dazzling magical sword appeared in Lu Qingshan's hand. He unleashed a sword chi that blocked the jade-quality flying sword coming at him through the air. Clang clang clang, the mist churned, and the flying sword emitted invisible sword chi that assailed Lu Qingshan, who kept parrying with his magical sword. Ha! Just then, Lu Qingshan let out a long howl, employing both the lion's roar skill and the sonic waves of spiritual power from his martial practices, sweeping out in a burst that shook Yin Yen. Sizzle sizzle. In an instant, Lu Qingshan's movement stirred up a breeze underfoot. Like a sharp blade of light, he tore through the air currents, closed in on Yin Yen, and unleashed a fiercely charged sword chi. Not good. Facing Lu Qingshan's onslaught, Yin Yen was startled and hurriedly maneuvered his flying sword to defend, activating his body-protecting chi barrier. He quickly pulled a talisman from inside his robe and activated it. In an instant, a golden light barrier formed around him. A superior-grade talisman, the Golden Light Barrier Talisman. That's really bullying. He's already higher in cultivation and now he's using a superior-grade talisman. It's nice to have money. If my family were rich enough to give me a few talismans, I wouldn't have been eliminated in the preliminaries. But Lu Qingshan's recent move, it seems like he also practices body refinement? No, it's not body refinement. Given his moves and sword techniques, they bear traces of mundane martial arts. I reckon he has trained in secular martial practices. Many of the surrounding disciples who witnessed the scene began discussing aloud. Go! Having secured his position with the Golden Light Barrier Talisman, Yin Yen manipulated hand seals and continued to send his magical sword at Lu Qingshan. Golden Light Barrier Talisman, as if a Golden Light Bodyguard charm would be more appropriate for you. Lu Qingshan sneered, his magical sword parried the incoming magical sword. Then he howled, "Break for me." In that moment, the spiritual power in his body roared to life, spreading out as he broke through from 6th level energy refinement to 7th level energy refinement. His golden magical sword shone brilliantly, its edge keen and fierce, tearing open the golden light barrier in front of him. This. Yin Yen was shocked and immediately pulled out 2 more talismans from his chest, intending to activate them. But in that instant, the golden light barrier and body-protecting chi barrier around him shattered. A golden magical sword was placed at his throat, sending a chill down his spine as if pain was about to ensue. He said incredulously, "How is this possible? How could you break through the golden bell shield talisman and the body-protecting chi barrier so quickly?" "Because I've made a breakthrough, the energy refinement late stage also has its differences. Don't use your own strength to measure mine, and remember to use a golden light bodyguard charm next time." Lu Qingshan's expression was indifferent as he spoke calmly. Tian Yuan Peak, Lu Qingshan, wins. The expressionless executor in the air showed a hint of surprise, nodding slightly before announcing the result. SSS, a breakthrough in the heat of battle? And from middle stage to energy refinement late stage at that. 6th level defeated 8th level? He must have been on the verge of a breakthrough for a while but chose not to. Now, utilizing his full strength naturally led to overcoming the bottleneck. This is very risky. If he hadn't been able to break through Yin Yan's defenses just now and had been defeated and injured, it might have affected his meridians. I've heard that he has a Gungjin body constitution and practices sword techniques, following the path of sword cultivators. This must be the confidence of a sword cultivator, refining his blade through battle after battle, hence revealing the sword hard edge. TSK, Brother Lu really is bold. S.E.A. the novel, F. Ire. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Many in the audience voiced their comments upon seeing this battle, and many would remember the name Lu Qingshan. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 797, The Dao Companion Ceremony, Heading to Jianghu Sect. Xiao Zhuer, how did brother perform? Lu Qingshan stepped down from the arena, saying with a chuckle. Brother is so amazing, he actually broke through to the 7th level energy refinement, and right on the arena during the battle. Lu Qingzhu said with a face full of happy admiration. Although she started cultivating a bit later than Lu Qingshan due to the issue with her foundation, she was still at the 5th level energy refinement and needed quite some time to break through to the 6th level. Seeing her brother break through to the energy refinement late stage, she felt even happier than if she had made the breakthrough herself. Sir the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As an unparalleled genius, it's quite normal to break through during combat. Lu Qingshan said with a proud look on his face. Then, looking at the arena's prizes, he said somewhat regretfully, "It's a pity that I'm only at the 7th level energy refinement. It might be a bit difficult to take first place." This martial arts tournament was for Chi refinement disciples to compete, but even though he was confident in fighting above his level, he was not certain against some at the peak of energy refinement. Brother is already very powerful, at the next sword trial tournament, brother will surely take first place. Lu Qingzhu said earnestly. In her heart, her brother was a genius, extremely formidable. This time brother will win a foundation establishment spirit object for you, and next time he'll win a foundation establishment elixir. When we both break through to foundation establishment and go home, Dad, Mom, and Grandpa will be totally surprised. Lu Qingshan said with a grinning face. Only when facing his sister, the crane fairy of Tian Yuan Peak, did he show such a playful and joyful demeanor. Lu Qingzhu nodded in agreement, unable to help but miss her parents, auntie, and grandfather at home. However, looking at her brother before her, she suppressed her longing and said softly, "Brother, you just had a breakthrough. You should go back and consolidate your cultivation realm." Atop Baiyun Peak. Tall and handsome, a majestic ancient tree glistens with gold and jade, brimming with vigorous vitality. Mount Sumeru, is this sufficient? Lu Chongsheng planted a shoot resembling gold and jade, swirling with vibrant green vitality, next to the Mount Sumeru tree king and asked aloud. With the Emperor's fluid, Mount Sumeru's strength could achieve a small increase without expending a large amount of live's origin source. It could also nurture a companion spirit plant without excessive consumption of its life force. "It's enough, Master," the pure, soft voice of Mount Sumeru responded. It indicated that as long as it nurtured the shoot patiently, in a few years, it would become its companion spirit plant and ascend to a third-rank heavenly and earthly spirit plant. However, this companion spirit plant's abilities were limited. It only had the effect of cleansing the mind, focusing the spirit, and suppressing the heart demon. Alright, a third-rank heavenly and earthly spirit plant is enough, its power doesn't really matter. Lu Chongsheng said upon hearing this. His main goal now was to acquire a heavenly and earthly spirit plant for his wife to cultivate the heavenly longevity technique. As for the abilities of this spirit plant, they seemed secondary to him. Moreover, the abilities of this companion spirit plant mainly stem from the Mount Sumeru tree king. As long as Mount Sumeru is willing to continue nurturing it with its origin source, the future is promising. Just then, Lu Chongsheng suddenly sensed a surge of mana and cultivation level entering his body out of nowhere. He knew that one of his children had made a breakthrough. Even though this cultivation level was still somewhat weak for him, it was stronger than all the previous ones he had experienced. One of the children has broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, but which one? Chuanjun wouldn't be so quick. Pingon just broke through to the 6th level, Lu Yun is still at the 5th level energy refinement. Lu Chongsheng pondered in his heart. He then opened the system panel to check the current status of his older children. After a moment, he knew which child had made the breakthrough. Name, Lu Qingshan, lifespan, 20/99, talent, 6th grade spiritual root, Gengjin body constitution, middle grade spiritual body, cultivation, 7th level energy refinement, ability, sword Dao compatibility, 52%, as expected, it's Qingshan, that's right, with his Gengjin body constitution, cultivating metal attribute cultivation techniques. His cultivation speed is not inferior to those with high-grade spiritual roots. Now that he's broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, it's quite normal. Lu Chongsheng murmured to himself. Although this speed was somewhat slower than Bai Ling's. But among his current children, he's probably far ahead. It's time to prepare for a trip to Jianghu sect in Yu country. Lu Chongsheng took a deep breath and exhaled softly. He immediately found Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan to talk about going to Jianghu sect in Yu country. "My lord, rest assured and go, the mistress and Miaoyun will look after the home," Ling Zixiao said upon hearing this. Lu Chongsheng nodded, feeling very reassured with the two women at home. Then he said to Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan, "I will first write a letter to Shiyu, to inquire how long before the Qingyun sect spiritual vessel heads to Azure Phoenix Immortal City." The journey from Bai Lake Mountain to Jianghu sect in Yu country was quite distant. Hence, Lu Chongsheng planned to take the Qingyun sect spiritual vessel to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Then from Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he would take the Jianghu sect spiritual vessel to Yu country Jianghu sect. Lu Miaohuan, upon hearing that they were finally going to visit their children in Jianghu sect, showed an excited and joyful expression on her face. Lu Miaoge's eyes also revealed a look of longing, eager to travel to Jianghu sect and see their children. With the upcoming trip to Jianghu sect to visit their children, Lu Miaohuan was very happy. She pulled her sister along to ask Lu Changsheng for a boat ride on the lake. The three of them didn't use paddles, but let the boat drift on its own. At this moment, a sudden storm with fierce winds and torrential rains descended upon by Lake Mountain. Facing the unexpected storm and the lake's surface whipped into waves, the exquisitely decorated boat drifting of its own accord remained unaffected, steadily sailing through the tempest. So much time might have passed before the storm and the furious waves subsided. The sunlight pierced the clouds. The air after the rain was extraordinarily fresh. The scenery around the lake was exceptionally beautiful. A delicate jade hand lifted the curtain on the boat's door. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 798, The Dao Companion Ceremony, Heading to Jianghu Sect. _4 Bright and gentle sunlight streamed into the cramped room, the breeze was gentle, and the water rippled. So much water, Lu Changsheng, observing the bunk bed drenched by an unknown source, either rain or lake water, waved his mana and dried it out. Afterward, he held his delicate wife in his arms and admired the beautiful scenery outside, feeling refreshed and uplifted. Through this lake tour, he could sense his wife's joy at the prospect of visiting their children at Jianghu Sect. "My husband, how do you think Qing Shan is doing with his cultivation at Jianghu Sect? Do you think he might?" Lu Miaohuan, draped in a thin black gauze garment, her beautiful black hair cascading down her back like satin, gazed out at the lake scenery. Even though she knew her son had a nascent soul immortal as his master, she remained worried about him being mistreated or bullied during his cultivation journey, given his mischievous and troublemaking character and the fact that she hadn't seen him. Rest assured, Qing Shan not only possesses a Gengjin body constitution, but he also has a nascent soul immortal as a master. His cultivation in Jianghu Sect naturally goes smoothly, Lu Changsheng reassured her with a warm voice, his arms around her slender waist. He, too, was eager to know how his children had fared at Jianghu Sect over the years. Qing Shan and Qing Zhu would be quite surprised to learn that both their father and sister have broken through to Foundation establishment, Lu Miaohuan mused with a smile. Who could have predicted the earth-shaking changes in their family in just a mere 10 years? 10 days later, Zhao Qingqing came to buy Lake Mountain. She told Lu Changsheng that the spiritual vessel heading from Qingyun Market to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City would leave in 4 months. The journey would take approximately 3 months, and if Lu Changsheng wished, she could purchase the vessel tickets on his behalf. Given Lu Changsheng's status as the mountain master of Bai Lake Mountain, he could certainly buy the vessel tickets himself. But it would require him to make the trip and book in advance at Qingyun Market. "Qingqing, thank you for the trouble," Lu Changsheng said as he nodded. With Xiao Xia still out on a mission and not yet back, having Zhao Qingqing buy the spiritual vessel tickets would be much more convenient. He then discussed the matter of the cultivator couple ritual with Zhao Qingqing. Though it wasn't ideal to draw attention now, he and Zhao Qingqing had become fellow cultivators, and he naturally wished to give their relationship a proper standing. Moreover, since he was about to head to Jianghu Sect in Yu country, which would take at least 2 to 3 years for the round trip, having Zhao Qingqing, a foundation-building great cultivator and disciple of an immortal sect, join the family would serve as a deterrent to surrounding clan powers. Sure, Zhao Qingqing cheerfully agreed. Being quite traditional, she had been hoping for a formal status that morning. But facing Lu Changsheng, she felt somewhat inferior, believing she wasn't worthy of such a man and could only be a concubine, unsure of how to raise the matter. Now that Lu Changsheng had taken the initiative to propose a cultivator couple ritual with her, she was naturally overjoyed. Immediately, Lu Changsheng asked his wife Lu Miaoyun to arrange a cultivator couple ritual. Upon learning that Zhao Qingqing and her husband were to be joined as a cultivator couple, Lu Miaoyun was merely slightly taken aback, but not surprised. After all, as a wife who had accompanied Lu Changsheng on his path, she had anticipated this day would come once Zhao Qingqing became a guest elder in their home. Considering they were to board the spiritual vessel for the Azure Phoenix Immortal City in 4 months, Lu Chongsheng set the date for the ritual 3 months later so it wouldn't be too rushed or simplistic. After assigning these tasks, Lu Chongsheng spent the following days diligently cultivating. This included Su Ruyan, who in the early years was used by Hong Lian for her Bodis alchemy purposes, formations, and other matters, so Lu Chongsheng had refrained from having her conceive. Mainly because once she had a child and became a mother, Lu Chongsheng felt he would become soft-hearted. Over the years, Su Ruyan had performed well, and Lu Chongsheng felt it was time. If she continued to be obedient and well-behaved upon his return, he would give her a heaven-rank demon beast, and that would be it, with her bearing 5, 6, 7, or 8 children. After all, Su Ruyan had long reached the peak of qi refinement and was ready to undertake foundation establishment. But her cultivation had virtually been stalled for years due to being imprisoned at Bai Lake Mountain. Although it was relatively difficult for foundation establishment cultivators to have children, with the system's bloodline enhancement, it wasn't too difficult for Lu Chongsheng. In this way, with Lu Chongsheng's efforts, in just a short month, 3 of his concubines were pregnant, including Su Ruyan. Seeing Su Ruyan pregnant, an idea popped into Lu Chongsheng's head. What if during his efforts, Hong Lian possessed Su Ruyan? Or, if Hong Lian possessed Su Ruyan during her pregnancy to help nourish the fetus, would the child be considered Hong Lian's? In that case, would the child's talent be comparatively better? However, Lu Chongsheng just thought about it and didn't bring it up. During this time, Lu Chongsheng also didn't neglect Bai Ling. Although it was extremely difficult for her to get pregnant because of bloodline issues, Lu Chongsheng believed in the saying, "Heaven rewards the diligent, man will conquer nature, and where there's a will there's a way." Sar the novel, F. Iyer. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed, and Lu Chongsheng and Zhao Qingqing's couple ceremony was held as scheduled. During these 3 months, 5 of Lu Chongsheng's minor wives, including Su Ruyan, became pregnant. As for Bai Ling, one could only say that she tried hard, but it was indeed very difficult. However, Lu Chongsheng did not lose a trace of fighting spirit, planning to try again when the time was right, determined to eventually make Bai Ling pregnant. On this day, Bai Lake Mountain was very lively and festive. The Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake, the Zheng family of Wugong Ridge, the Yushui Su family, the Ji family of Shaojing Mountain, and other family powers all sent people to congratulate and give gifts. After all, the union of 2 foundation establishment cultivators was not a minor matter to these neighboring family powers, and it deserved high attention. Hong Yi and Han Lin also came to attend the celebration. Besides them, some Qingyun sect disciples, Zhao Qingqing's friends, and fellow sect members were present. I heard that Lu ancestor hadn't taken any concubines for a long time. I did not expect that once he did, it would be such an astonishing event, marrying a foundation establishment great cultivator from the Qingyun sect. A friend of mine's grandson's niece became a concubine to Lu ancestor. I heard that Lu ancestor has also been diligently working these years, having children born every year in his family. For Lu Mountain Lord, I really admire him completely, to have 3 foundation establishment partners in his household. And all 3 are not ordinary. One is a 2nd-grade talisman master, one is a 2nd-grade array master, and one is a disciple of the immortal sects. Compared to Lu Mountain Lord's talisman path, I admire his inclinations towards men and women even more. Ah, truly, comparing oneself to others will only make you die of envy. Many of those who came to attend the ceremony expressed their feelings out loud for Lu Chongsheng, their expressions a mix of envy and jealousy. For them, even after breaking through to foundation building and becoming a foundation establishment great cultivator, marrying a foundation establishment partner was very hard. Not to mention someone like Lu Chongsheng, who had 3 high-quality foundation establishment partners. After all, upon becoming a foundation establishment cultivator, one is an ancestor of a region, who would willingly share. Lu brother is indeed worthy, Hong Yi and Han Lin were seated at the same table and were full of emotions upon witnessing this scene. Even though Hong Yi had previously made some guesses, seeing this scene, the two holding the ceremony and becoming partners, they were still filled with emotions. They thought that if this was the situation with Zhao Qingqing's couple ceremony, what if Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie from the Qingyun sect, the famous Shiyu fairy, were to become partners? Would it not cause a small sensation throughout the entire Qingyun region? However, for Brother Lu to become partners with Xiao Daoist, I'm afraid he has to pass the hurdle of her master, Kaiyun True Immortal. Hong Yi pondered silently. Zhao Qingqing was just an ordinary disciple of the Qingyun sect, and there would be no constraints in this respect. But with core disciples and true inheritors like Xiao Xie, the sect valued them highly, and there would be certain constraints on behavior, such as in choosing a partner. So, this is Lu Ancestor, indeed as the rumors described, handsome as an immortal. I heard that Lu Ancestor is not only the lord of a mountain, a second-tier top-level talisman master, but also so handsome. I really want to marry him. Yes, even if I were to be a servant or a maid, would be willing. To become a maid of Lu Ancestor, one must at least have a middle-grade spiritual root, if only I had been born 10 or 20 years earlier. I heard that in the early years when Lu Ancestor was at Qingzhou Mountain, he often took concubines from outside. One look at Lu Mountain Lord ruins a lifetime. During the ceremony, many young girls who came with their elders to attend the ceremony and with certain motives, upon seeing Lu Changsheng's handsome and elegant demeanor, felt their hearts fluttering and lost. After all, a great cultivator who had wealth, looks, and power, who wouldn't love such a person? But for these young ladies, Lu Changsheng mostly didn't even take notice anymore. The ceremony lasted for 3 days. After the ceremony ended, Lu Changsheng accompanied Zhao Qingqing for another 3 days. Then, he took Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan and left by Lake Mountain, heading to Qingyun Market, preparing to take a spiritual vessel to visit his children at the Jianghu sect in Yu country. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 799, The Heavenly Demon Phoenix arrives at the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. _1 month later. Qingyun Market. That morning, Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan finished checking out of their lodgings and arrived at the northern gate of the market, waiting for the arrival of the spiritual vessel. It was the same location where Lu Changsheng had boarded a spiritual vessel before. Many cultivators had come early to wait, and several Qingyun sect law enforcement cultivators were maintaining order. They didn't have to wait too long. A blue spiritual vessel, over 30 feet tall and 50 to 60 feet long, slowly descended from the high clouds, shrouded in the luminescence of a formation. This spiritual vessel looked the same as the one Lu Changsheng had previously taken to Jiuxiao Immortal City. Presumably, they were all built by the Qingyun sect, specifically for long-distance transportation. So this is a spiritual vessel. Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoge were both looking at the vessel with expressions of surprise and curiosity. They had only ever heard about such large spiritual vessels and had never seen or ridden on one before. Yes, this is a large spiritual vessel. Its defenses are astonishing, and the cannons on board can unleash attacks comparable to those of core formation, Lu Changsheng said softly. When he had boarded the vessel before, he happened to meet Xiahou Wuwa and witnessed the power of the ship firsthand. He knew that both defense and offense had reached the 3rd rank, a level that ordinary nascent soul cultivators would not dare confront. This made him very keen to get his hands on such a spiritual vessel. If a war were to break out between the two clans in the future, having such a vessel in the sky would be incredibly imposing. Soon, the spiritual vessel hovered in mid-air. 2 Foundation establishment cultivators came out and announced loudly, "Everyone with a pass token, please queue up and board the spiritual vessel in an orderly fashion. Those who disturb the order will be disqualified from boarding." As their voices fell, a rainbow light fell from the vessel, transforming into successive steps. The law enforcement cultivators from the Qingyun sect kept order, directing everyone to board the ship in an orderly queue. This time, Lu Changsheng's ticket for the spiritual vessel was still for the second-tier category, a standard cabin. However, compared to the single room he had before, it was slightly larger, belonging to a multi-occupancy area, with about 30 square meters. Although it was a bit cramped for 3 people, they had no other choice given the limited options. After all, he had also stayed in a luxurious superior room before, which mainly had an additional supply of spiritual energy but wasn't much larger than a standard cabin. "I wonder how Qing Shan and Qing Zhu will react when they see us," Lu Miaohuan said with a joyful expression, looking out at the sea of clouds from the window. Such scenery was naturally nothing special to her. But since it was her first time riding a spiritual vessel, she felt a novelty similar to what Lu Changsheng had experienced before. They will certainly be very surprised," Lu Changsheng replied, seeing his wife so happy put him in a good mood too. Ever since they started preparing to go to Jianghu sect, Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan had been in very high spirits these past days. But it was Lu Miaohuan who wore her emotions on her sleeve, her moods clearly reflected on her face. He took out teaware, spiritual tea, and a spring of spiritual water from his storage ring and began to brew the tea. He then took out the spiritual origin pearl he had obtained from Xiahou Wuwa. Since the spirit vein at home had already been upgraded to a second-rank superior grade, he did not immediately give the pearl to Ling Zixiao to nourish the spirit vein. Now, it could be put to good use, allowing the 3 of them to cultivate simply and restore their spiritual energy after making talismans in the room. To make a trip to the Jin kingdom, at the very least, they'll need to break through to core formation. At that moment, Lu Changsheng thought of another daughter, the one in the 5 poisons cult in Jin kingdom, whom he had never met. According to his expectations, to visit his daughter in the 5 poisons cult, he would need the strength of core formation to be on the safe side. Based on his current cultivation speed, even without worrying about the coagulation crystal elixir or core formation spiritual objects, breaking through to core formation would take at least 20 years. 20 years, she would be all grown up by then, Lu Changsheng thought about his 7-year-old daughter. After another 20 years, she would have grown into an adult. And if his daughter went astray by then, it would be quite worrisome. After all, with Nangong Meili around, he truly wasn't concerned about his daughter being bullied or anything like that. His only worry was that under the guidance of the demon sect, the child might be led astray. Jin Kingdom, 5 Poisons Cult. Inside a palace. Aha, a tall yet emaciated middle-aged man with a fierce face and bloodshot eyes screamed in agony and struggled vehemently. Yet, his limbs, clavicles, and vital areas such as his waist and hips were all pierced by chains, stripping him of his mana, causing only the clanking of the chains to be heard. "Mommy, is he in a lot of pain?" A 7 or 8-year-old girl dressed in a purple starry tulle dress, looking like an exquisite doll, watched the scene with some unease and asked with concern. Despite her young age, she possessed a graceful figure, with tender and fair skin, clear and radiant eyes, a straight and delicate nose, and soft, pink lips. Her long, luscious black hair, shining like the starry night, lay smooth and glistening down her back. The gold silkworm goo will be ready in a few days, and then he won't be in pain anymore," replied an affectionate and stunningly beautiful woman as she fondly stroked her daughter's head, a gentle smile on her lips. Clad in a regal purple gown that showcased her enticing curves and breathtaking beauty, her incomparable face was beyond the words stunning or captivating. Ia the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Her peach blossom-like eyes, misty and alluring, were filled with a captivating charm that could steal one's soul. Her bright, luscious lips seemed to call for a kiss. Every inch of her body exuded an irresistible charm and seduction. The little girl bore a striking resemblance to her. Given the woman's peerless beauty, one could imagine how stunning the girl would grow up to be. "So he will no longer be in pain," muttered Nangong Meili, perhaps noticing a tinge of pity in her daughter's eyes. With a light lift of her snow-white hand stained with the juice of the rouge plant, the man before her could no longer scream out in pain, the agonizing grimace on his face turned numb, leaving him expressionless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 800, The Heavenly Demon Phoenix arrives at the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Does it not hurt anymore? Nangong Yaoyao led her own mother's slender jade arm, her eyes as pure as stars showing a hint of doubt, and always felt that the other party should still be in pain. After all, when she had been bitten by an insect, she had been in pain for so long, and her mother had been so worried. Now that an insect had burrowed into the other party, how could it not hurt? But of course, she believed what her own mother said. After a long while, a golden-skinned, silkworm-shaped goo insect drilled out from the mouth of a middle-aged man and flew into the little girl's hands. This scene appeared somewhat frightening. But the little girl was too cute, holding her mother's palm with an obedient face like an exquisitely carved white jade doll, which dispersed the terrifying atmosphere. "Let's go, Yao Yao." Seeing the golden silkworm goo had finished feeding, Nangong Mili softly said to her daughter, leading her away. "Master." Just as they returned to the hall, a girl dressed in a purple gown with delicate features and a dreamlike, ethereal, and misty temperament called out. "Sister Xiao Chan." Nangong Yaoyao, seeing the girl in purple, immediately broke into a happy smile on her porcelain face, let go of her mother's hand, and ran to hug her. At Tianzhu Peak, aside from her mother and her personal maidservant, Meng Xiaochan took care of her most of the time, so the two were very close. It's just that Meng Xiaochan had gradually become busy, and she hadn't seen her for a long time. "Yao Yao." Meng Xiaocan's face showed an alluring, chaotic smile, lifting the little girl into her arms. Then she kissed the little girl's soft and snowy cheek, inhaling the fragrant scent of her skin. She had always taken care of Nangong Yaoyao and loved the fragrance of her skin. Every time they were together, smelling this scent, she felt as if she was basking in the spring breeze, a comfortable closeness that reminded her of Lu Changsheng. "Xiao Chan, did something bring you here this time?" Nangong Mili looked at her disciple and daughter, a faint smile on her face. "Reporting to Master, I've received news that Patriarch Sima of the Jilian Mountain has passed away." Meng Xiaochan released Nangong Yaoyao and spoke out. "Since Sima De has passed away, there is no need for Jilian Mountain to exist anymore. You can take care of this matter." Nangong Mili said indifferently upon hearing this. "Master, how should we deal with the 5 major clans of Jilian Mountain?" Meng Xiaochan inquired. "Yao Yao, what should you do against bad people who don't obey?" Nangong Mili moved forward, crouching down in a graceful posture, and asked her daughter with a smile. Of course, kill them." Nangong Yaoyao blinked, tilting her little head up, and spoke with an innocent face. 3 months later. This myriad beasts mountain range is still majestic and expansive. But looking at it this way, it shouldn't take long before we reach Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan stood on the deck of the spiritual vessel, overlooking the sea of clouds, looking down at the forest, mountains, and buildings below, scattered like stars in the sky. They could see a majestic mountain range with overlapping peaks, stretching far and wide, known as the famous Myriad Beasts Mountain Range. Myriad Beasts Mountain Range? Lu Miaohuan looked at the sea of clouds, somewhat puzzled. As Foundation establishment cultivators, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge could barely make out the scene below. She was only in the energy refinement late stage and could only see the surrounding sea of clouds, not making out the details below clearly. He. Lu Changsheng saw his wife's expression, and with a light lift of his hand, Mana formed a water mirror, displaying some of the general scenery below for Lu Miaohuan to see. Right then, a system notification sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations, host's offspring has reached 100 descendants. You are awarded 1 treasure drawing opportunity. 100 now? This child money really kept me waiting. Lu Changsheng, hearing this system notification, was slightly startled, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Like with his own children, he had received child money in increments of 10 by 10. SEA the novel _fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But for his grandchildren, it was increasing by 50 each time. For the next child money, he suspected he would need to have 200 grandchildren before receiving it. Somewhat slack these days. I remember it only took a little over 4 years for the previous 50, but this time it actually took 5 years. Lu Chongqing furrowed his brows, recalling that it had been almost 5 years since the last grandchild milestone with the system's child money. But a rate of 5 years is also not bad, it's acceptable. I just don't know how many grandchildren have a spiritual root, and if the system will again give child money. Lu Chongqing pondered to himself. Although his Lu family now had 100 grandchildren, only 5 of them had a spiritual root. This ratio was still quite good, but since all 5 grandchildren had a lower-grade spiritual root, it indeed made Lu Chongqing sigh. He knew that for a genius to emerge in his family, it was still up to him, the patriarch, to work hard. After spending some time on deck with his wife, enjoying the scenery, Lu Chongqing returned to his room to start the treasure drawing. Having experienced the drawing many times, he could now remain unfazed during the process, without any unusual demeanor. As for why he didn't put off the drawing, it was mainly because he couldn't resist doing it as soon as it became available. System, draw. Lu Chongqing silently commanded in his mind. A light red roulette wheel emerged, a streak of golden light appearing, spinning rapidly. After a moment, the golden light slowed down and stopped on pet, ding. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained a spiritual pet, Heavenly Demon Phoenix. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host can check it at any time. A divine bird pattern, bathed in gold and burning with crimson flames, emerged from the roulette, accompanied by a system notification. Pet, Heavenly Demon Phoenix. Last time, on the way to Jianghu Immortal City on the spiritual vessel, I drew the cold blue dark turtle. This time, on the way to Azure Phoenix Immortal City on the spiritual vessel, I drew the Heavenly Demon Phoenix, which is really, if you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 801, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, arrive at Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Chongqing browsed the rewards, his eyebrows slightly raised, and a smile flashed across his face. SEA the novel fire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He had previously planned to give Su Ruyan a heaven-rank demon beast. However, the only pets at home were the 9 netherhound, cold blue dark turtle, 6-winged golden silkworm, and abyssal ghoul blossom. Both the cold blue dark turtle and abyssal ghoul blossom already had owners. The 9 netherhound, being his first pet beast and the family's guard dog from years past, he naturally wouldn't give away. As for the remaining 6-winged golden silkworm that had advanced to 2nd rank, its combat power was decent, and he wasn't keen on giving it away either. So, he planned to give away whatever he drew next. But now, seeing that it was a flying spiritual pet related to the true spirit phoenix, Lu Chongqing hesitated to give it away. However, it doesn't matter. To cultivate it to 2nd rank, 3rd rank, at least would take several decades, even hundreds of years. Granting Su Ruyan the contract, along with the cultivation of beast techniques, could allow this heavenly demon phoenix to grow at the fastest rate, Lu Chongqing pondered silently. Then, his mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked towards the system space to check the specific details of this heavenly demon phoenix. Spiritual pet, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, grade, Heaven grade top quality, description, a Heaven grade top quality bloodline demon beast with the true spirit Heavenly Phoenix lineage, capable of growing to peak strength in 500 years, reaching 4th rank, TSK, Heaven grade top quality with true spirit Heavenly Phoenix lineage. Indeed extraordinary. Lu Chongsheng reviewed this spiritual pet's information and felt quite pleased. If nurtured, it could serve as his personal mount. Currently, he mainly relied on spirit boats and flying artifacts for travel. He was somewhat behind in terms of flying mounts. Although there was a green jade luan bird at home, it was merely capable of flight and leaned towards being an ornamental spiritual pet. Now, if he took good care of this heavenly demon phoenix, he might have a fine flying mount in the future. Since it was not convenient now, and he lacked time, Lu Chongsheng didn't extract it from the system space, planning to arrange it once he returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Half a month later. Fellow Daoists, we have arrived at Azure Phoenix Immortal City. The green cloud spirit ship descended slowly in front of a majestic and towering immortal city, engulfed in green jade spiritual light. This Azure Phoenix Immortal City and Jiuxiao Immortal City are just so different. Lu Chongsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan observed the surrounding situation of the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Compared to Jiuxiao Immortal City, Azure Phoenix Immortal City was larger and more bustling. Pedestrians, cultivators of various appearances, were constantly coming and going, Daoists, knights, scholars, monks, barbarians. Momentarily, Lu Chongsheng felt as though he had arrived at a mundane city. The trio disembarked from the spirit ship and lined up at the city gate. Watching the bustling crowd, Lu Chongsheng noticed that nearly half of these people had faces shrouded with murderous, evil, or bloody auras. Their temperaments were completely at odds with his, Lu Miaoge's, and Lu Miaohuan's. Guards patrolling around the city gate in spiritual armor each bore an air of solemn killing intent. Is this the so-called sanctuary for loose cultivators? Lu Chongsheng muttered to himself, aware that most cultivators who came to Azure Phoenix Immortal City were loose cultivators. The aim of these loose cultivators in coming to Azure Phoenix Immortal City was nearly all the same, to fight for a future. Qi refinement vying for foundation establishment vying for middle stage, late stage, even false core formation. Thus, most of these individuals relied on hunting demon beasts and exploring ancient ruins and dungeons for survival, battle-hardened from numerous fights. Feiyu has been living here for over 10 years, Lu Chongsheng thought of his good brother, Li Feiyu. He was always aware of the dangers of Azure Phoenix Immortal City. But now, having arrived at this loose cultivator's sanctuary and seeing the local conditions, he formed a clear realization. He understood that this so-called sanctuary for loose cultivators was actually a breeding ground. Each loose cultivator who could break through foundation establishment here and make a name for oneself was extraordinary. They had all fought their way through with blades and spears, incomparable to home-trained cultivators from families like Lu Yuanzhong or Bai Yunyang. I wonder how Feiyu is doing now, whether he's in the city. Lu Chongsheng took a deep breath and exhaled. He had come to Azure Phoenix Immortal City en route, taking the Jianghu sect spiritual vessel towards the Jianghu sect, naturally prepared to check on his good brother, Li Feiyu's condition. Seeing the city's situation and thinking about how his friend had struggled here for over a decade, his mood grew heavier. Especially since Azure Phoenix Immortal City had faced a century-rare beast tide a few years ago. At that time, he had lost communication with Feiyu, thinking something bad happened. Because the city gate had separate channels for Qi refinement and foundation establishment, it didn't take long before the three of them reached the front. Lu Chongsheng paid 30 spirit stones, received his identity jade, and entered Azure Phoenix Immortal City with his wife. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 802, Encounter in Immortal City, Demonic Body. Lu Chongsheng and his wife entered Azure Phoenix Immortal City and found a small courtyard in the inner city to temporarily reside in. This trip was destined for the Jianghu sect, and he naturally had it all planned. He made inquiries early and confirmed that the spiritual vessel of the Jianghu sect wouldn't depart for another 2 months. After settling down, Lu Chongsheng mentioned to Lu Miaoge that he was going to visit Li Feiyu's place in the outer city district to see if Li Feiyu was at home. Are you looking for Daoist Li? Daoist Li went out some days ago, and it will probably take quite a while for him to return. I'm not quite sure when, said the old neighbor, bowing to the handsome and distinguished-looking Lu Changxing in front of him. He didn't know whether Li Feiyu had offended the senior before him or what, but it had led to a visit. Lu Changxing nodded, knowing that a cultivator like Li Feiyu would mostly be enduring hardships in cultivation or be away for long periods. He then took out a middle-grade spirit stone and a communication talisman. If you see Daoist Li return, please notify my family at once. Of course, senior. As soon as Daoist Li returns, I will notify you right away. The old man's eyes gleamed upon seeing the middle-grade spirit stone, as he said obsequiously, bowing. While not a huge sum for him, the middle-grade spirit stone was a windfall. Especially since he could make the acquaintance of a Foundation establishment cultivator through this. Even in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a Foundation establishment cultivator was considered an important figure. Not to mention that the outer city district is basically filled with qi refining loose cultivators. Sigh. Lu Changxing shook his head and exhaled, walking out of the ancient streets. He was going to stay in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for 2 months and didn't know if he would be able to meet Li Feiyu. Just then, he saw a man in his 40s, tall and clad in black armor, coming toward him from the end of the alley. With sharp eyebrows and a fierce aura, yet with a scruffy beard and a countenance weary with age, he looked much more peaceful. The man stopped in his tracks upon seeing Lu Changxing, his expression surprised and uncertain, and he couldn't help but ask, Changxing? Lu Changxing recognized the familiar yet strange face and knew who he was. He didn't expect to lament not seeing him moments ago, only to turn the corner and encounter him. He immediately showed a smile and said, Feiyu, it has been a long time. Changxing, what brings you to Azure Phoenix Immortal City? Li Feiyu, hearing these words, knew he hadn't mistaken, and his face showed a look of surprise. But seeing Lu Changxing, who looked the same as he had 20 years ago, as if an immortal, Li Feiyu felt at a loss for a moment. The two had corresponded by letters, and Li Feiyu knew that Lu Changxing had broken through to Foundation establishment years ago. While he himself had been toiling in Azure Phoenix Immortal City and was still at the 9th level energy refinement, Foundation establishment seemed far away. I just happened to have some business to attend to. Lu Changxing smiled warmly, familiarly giving him a pat on the shoulder. I came over earlier and heard you were away. I thought I might not see you this trip. After awakening his memories at the Qingyun sect's heart inquiry platform, Li Feiyu could be called his best and only true friend, a good brother. As for Hong Yi, in his heart, he was only half as important. Not just because of the life-saving grace Li Feiyu had shown in the past, but the friendship that had accumulated while living as sons-in-law together on Qingzhou Mountain. My trip outside didn't yield much, so I came back early. Quite the coincidence. Li Feiyu showed a smile that hadn't changed in the 18 years of separation, his heroic and fierce face softening. Indeed, a laughter in today's reunion dispelled the vicissitudes of the past. Come on, let's find a place to sit and have a drink. This Azure Phoenix Immortal City really is quite different from what I had imagined, Lu Changxing said with a full smile. The two headed toward a nearby tavern. It seems like Daoist Li and this Foundation establishment senior have an extraordinary relationship, mused the old neighbor from afar, observing the demeanor of Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu. Drunk Immortal Pavilion. Inside a private room. Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu were drinking and reminiscing. Although they had kept up correspondence in the many years, they had only exchanged a dozen or so letters, merely maintaining contact. SAR the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. And in those letters, neither of them would talk much about their own circumstances. For instance, Li Feiyu never mentioned his hardships, only recounting various happenings, sights, and joyful events in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. And Lu Changxing did the same, mostly talking about his children at home, as well as Li Feiyu's children and the Crimson Whale Gang. Because he understood that Li Feiyu's circumstances couldn't be compared to his own. Talking too much about his own life would seem like boasting and could make others uncomfortable. Even though he believed their relationship wouldn't be affected that way, as a friend, he still paid attention to this. Who would have thought that you, Changsheng, would become a patriarch yourself after all these years? Li Feiyu marveled upon learning about Lu Changsheng establishing the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Back then, they both became sons-in-law on Qingzhou Mountain in pursuit of the immortal path. Now, Lu Changsheng had risen from a son-in-law to a patriarch. Feiyu, what are your plans for the future? Do you intend to return after achieving foundation establishment? Lu Changsheng learned of Li Feiyu's experiences over the years. Initially, he came to Azure Phoenix Immortal City with 3 companions. But along the way, one met a tragic death, and another chose to depart, ultimately leaving only 2 to arrive in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon arriving, they realized just how brutal the competition was for bottom-tier loose cultivators, struggling to survive in the outer city district. Fortunately, Li Feiyu had some knowledge of spirit plant and spirit slaughter skills, which allowed him to barely scrape by. Once he was acclimated, he started hunting demon beasts in the mountains. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 803, Encounter in Immortal City, Demonic Body. More than a decade had passed, and his close friend who first arrived at Azure Phoenix Immortal City with him died at the hands of demon beasts in the 2nd year. Over time, he had met many people, but after more than a decade, those who had left, and those who had died. I don't even know, after all these years, I feel like I've gotten used to living this way. To go back now, not only would I be dissatisfied, I wouldn't even know what to do. Li Feiyu shook his head and smiled. Just like you said at the beginning, Changsheng, we are fortunate to possess spiritual roots and have a fate with immortality. Having embarked on this path, we should advance bravely and diligently, pushing forward to live up to the generous gift from the heavens. If we choose to give up on ourselves, to abandon the journey halfway through, how could we be content to live a mediocre life with that weighing on our hearts? His initial arrival at Azure Phoenix Immortal City was driven by the hope to carve out a future for himself, to build a foundation for success. To achieve foundation establishment was to succeed. But now, having seen and learned so much, his ambitions had broadened and he was no longer content with just foundation establishment. In his view, foundation establishment was merely the true entrance into the cultivation world, the starting point to experience the wonders it had to offer. Once he achieved foundation establishment, he would never want to go back. Sigh. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng understood Li Feiyu's thoughts. If he wanted to succeed in cultivation, he would have to fight for it here in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Choosing to go back would be tantamount to giving up on his cultivation halfway. Yet, having experienced the wonders of the immortal world, how many would willingly settle for a life of mediocrity? Or rather, being content with the ordinary wasn't an option for Li Feiyu. He wouldn't have chosen to come to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, witnessing all kinds of cruelty, and still hold on. Feiyu, you're at the 9th level of energy refinement now, you should be preparing for foundation establishment, right? Lu Changsheng broke the silence and inquired. Even though the other party had a method of concealing his cultivation, it was an open book in front of his divine sense at the peak of foundation establishment. The beast tide came recently. I was lucky enough to make a small fortune, gathering a lot of materials. I'm currently looking for people to pool resources for alchemy. If that doesn't work out, I'll wait until I have enough spirit stones to bid on a foundation establishment pill, Li Feiyu explained. Pooling resources for alchemy? Lu Changsheng was a bit surprised to hear this. This is a common method for loose cultivators in Azure Phoenix Immortal City to obtain foundation establishment elixirs. Li Feiyu smiled and clarified, it's very hard for a loose cultivator to gather all the materials needed for a foundation establishment elixir on their own, so they often cooperate with others. For example, someone who is lucky enough to obtain a heavenly spirit fruit or a special monster core but lacks other complementary materials would seek to cooperate with someone who has them. In this way, when the elixir comes out of the furnace, whoever contributed the most gets first pick. If only one pill is successfully formed, only one person can choose, and the others have to accept their loss, but if there are multiple pills, everyone stands to gain, Li Feiyu said. I see. Lu Chongsheng nodded his head upon understanding. He thought that it was quite a scheme, something he had never heard of before coming to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. How are your preparations going? Lu Chongsheng continued to ask. For the Foundation Establishment pill, I'm just short of the main ingredients and a few key supplements. If there's someone willing to cooperate, I can offer money to purchase these supplements, which is not too difficult in the Immortal City. If no one wants to cooperate, then I'll just sell these materials for spirit stones when the time comes, Li Feiyu said, looking completely unfazed. Feiyu, I just happen to have a Foundation Establishment elixir here, you can buy it from me. If you don't have enough spirit stones, you can pay me back later, Lu Chongsheng said, taking out a Foundation Establishment pill he had obtained from Xiahou Wuwa and handed it to Li Feiyu. Since he was able, he naturally wanted to lend a hand to his good brother in such a situation. Initially, he had sold and given away a Foundation Establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain for the sake of Lu family loyalty and Lu Miaoge. He had written an IOU for Zhao Qingxing for a Foundation Establishment elixir out of acquaintance and with a bit of ulterior motive. But giving the Foundation Establishment elixir to Li Feiyu now held no hidden agenda. It was purely for the friendship they shared back then and the life-saving grace he had received from Li Feiyu. As for why he didn't just give it as a gift, he knew Li Feiyu well enough, he would definitely refuse to accept it if it was offered for free. Foundation Establishment elixir. Li Feiyu was astonished when he heard Lu Chongsheng nonchalantly offer him a porcelain bottle. Although he knew his friend had had some fortune and was now no ordinary elder, he never imagined that Lu Chongsheng would casually offer up a Foundation Establishment elixir, suggesting he could owe the spirit stones if necessary. Having been in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for so many years, he had not only seen but also experienced friends backstabbing each other for profit. Yet here, Lu Chongsheng was offering him a Foundation Establishment elixir so generously, it really moved him, and he was at a loss for words. After all these years, you haven't changed a bit, Chongsheng. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Li Feiyu said with a wistful smile. He had always known that Lu Chongsheng was exceptionally generous with those around him. Back in the day, most of his spirit stone expenditures were for his wives, concubines, and children. When he had gone out for trials, Lu Chongsheng gave him a stack of talismans, a middle-grade puppet, and 300 spirit stones. Years had passed, and Lu Chongsheng had become even more generous. Now he was even taking out such a rare elixir medicine as a Foundation Establishment elixir so casually. At that moment, Li Feiyu's emotions were complex, flooded with numerous feelings. After so long in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he had witnessed countless people fighting to the death for a single Foundation Establishment elixir, losing their lives in the process. Even he could not guarantee he would be able to secure a Foundation Establishment elixir before the age of 60. Yet Lu Chongsheng could so easily produce one. It's our friendship that hasn't changed. Lu Chongsheng placed the Foundation Establishment elixir on the table and laughed, let's not stand on ceremony with each other. If you really feel uncomfortable about it, you can repay me more when you have the spirit stones, think of it as interest. Aren't you afraid that it'll fail the Foundation Establishment? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 804, Encounter in Immortal City, Demonic Body. Li Feiyu was deeply touched, knowing that Lu Chongsheng said so because he feared Li would refuse. I have confidence in you. Lu Chongsheng half-jokingly said, if it really fails, then you can come to Bihu Mountain to work and pay off your debts. All right. Li Feiyu chuckled, but it will still take me 2 or 3 years to reach the peak of qi refining and attempt foundation establishment. During this time, I'll see if I can gather enough human refinement foundation establishment elixirs in the Immortal City. If not, I'll go home and find you. It has been many years since I've gone back. It's indeed time to visit. Li Feiyu spoke with a tone and expression that carried a trace of heaviness. He still had parents, a wife, and children at home, but for the sake of cultivation, he had not visited them for many years, which could be said to be quite irresponsible. All right. Lu Chongsheng was silent for a moment, not insisting. He knew that deep down, Li Feiyu still wanted to give it another try. Regarding this feeling, he could probably understand. Foundation establishment was the purpose and persistence of the other party in coming to Azure Phoenix Immortal City for so many years. Now, relying on step-by-step efforts, he had reached the final step. If he completed it with someone else's help, there would inevitably be some regrets in his heart. Thank you, Chongsheng. Li Feiyu said with a smile on his face. Hee, I've said it before, there's no need to be so polite between us. Lu Chongsheng handed a yin-yang sensing talisman to Li Feiyu. I will be in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for 2 months, if you need anything, feel free to find me. Okay. Li Feiyu took the yin-yang sensing talisman. After bidding farewell to Li Feiyu, Lu Chongsheng returned to the inner city. In the following days, he spent his time strolling and enjoying the Immortal City with his wife, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan. Although this excursion was to visit his children, it also doubled as a vacation for the couple. During this period, Lu Chongsheng called Li Feiyu out to join them casually. Seeing Lu Miaoge, the former young lady of the Lu family, having also achieved foundation establishment, Li Feiyu was quite emotional. After all, from his current perspective, it was somewhat difficult for Lu Miaoge to achieve foundation establishment. The Novel Fire. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Moreover, from the changes in Lu Miaoge's appearance and temperament, he could roughly guess that she must have encountered some fortunate opportunity. And that this opportunity might have something to do with Lu Chongsheng. He didn't inquire or pay much attention to this, instead acting as a guide for Lu Chongsheng in the Immortal City. However, he had been in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for many years and was more familiar with the outer city than the inner city. He was even less familiar with the inner city than he was with the Myriad Beasts mountain range. After all, for more than a decade, he spent most of his time in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Speaking of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, I obtained a treasure map before. It's suspected to be in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Feiyu, help me take a look. When Lu Chongsheng heard Li Feiyu mention the Myriad Beasts mountain range, it reminded him of the treasure map he had obtained from Fangyu. He had initially planned to auction off this treasure map, but Ling Zixiao said it wouldn't fetch a good price. Now that he had come to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he thought it might sell for a decent price. A treasure map? Li Feiyu was surprised. Then he examined the treasure map Lu Chongsheng handed over. After scrutinizing it for a moment, he pondered, this map's relic is likely in the Myriad Beasts mountain range, but it seems to be in a deeper part of the range. How much could this treasure map be worth? Lu Chongsheng inquired. He wasn't particularly concerned about where the relic was, since he had no intention of exploring. Maps of relics located deep in the Myriad Beasts mountain range pose significant danger even for Foundation establishment cultivators to visit. If there's only one map, it probably isn't worth much, it needs more information related to the relic to be valuable. Most relics, after all, are bound with various prohibitions, Li Feiyu spoke out. He had spent many years exploring relic sites and cave mansions. He indicated that such treasure maps are often forgeries. Unless there is related information that can verify the situation of the relics, or related items, it is difficult to sell them for a high price. Even a map like the one Lu Chongsheng had, though it looked complicated, might only sell for a few thousand spirit stones, and it would still be hard to sell. I heard before that this ancient relic contained top-tier inheritances, opportunities for core formation, and even nascent soul. I thought it could be worth quite a lot, but it turns out to be just this. Lu Chongsheng lightly chuckled, not really minding. If you had items related to the relic, Chongsheng, or if you had explored and confirmed it yourself, it could fetch a high price, even more than 10,000 spirit stones. In places like Azure Phoenix Immortal City, even the City Lord Mansion would purchase information of this sort. Li Feiyu spoke with a smile. Items related to the relic? Lu Chongsheng raised an eyebrow, pondering, and did not remember collecting any particular items when clearing out the gains. He didn't think much of it and continued, City Lord Mansion. I heard that previously when the Beast Tide attacked, the master of the Immortal City, Azure Phoenix Immortal, personally took action and fought 3 great demons alone, killing one and gravely injuring another. That's right, Azure Phoenix Immortal did indeed take action. Li Feiyu's eyes showed a mixture of emotion, longing, and admiration. Although he couldn't see clearly on that day, the brief appearance of Azure Phoenix Immortal had made a deeply profound impression on him. Especially since she was a woman, it made him respect her even more and feel that one should aim to live such a life. And seeing Azure Phoenix Immortal, a woman and a first-grade independent cultivator, reaching such heights, inevitably inspired him. Wow, Azure Phoenix Immortal, Qinghuan Dao Bing. As Lu Chongsheng listened to Li Feiyu recount the scene of the Beast Tide, he couldn't help but sigh. He was eager to meet this Azure Phoenix Immortal, renowned as Jianghu country's #1 independent cultivator. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. That day, outside of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a spiritual vessel surrounded by golden spiritual light slowly descended. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 805, Encounter in Immortal City, Demonic Body. _4 Compared to the spiritual vessel of Qingyun sect, this spiritual vessel looked slightly smaller, but the number of its cannon turrets seemed greater. CTH Novel Fire. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Feiyu, when we meet again, you can always write to me by Lake Mountain if there's anything. Lu Chongsheng said to Li Feiyu. Okay, Chongsheng. Miss, second miss, have a smooth journey. Li Feiyu nodded and bowed. Subsequently, Lu Chongsheng and the 2 others lined up to board the spiritual vessel of Jianghu sect. This spiritual vessel of Jianghu sect was much like that of Qingyun sect, and the seating also roughly divided into 3 tiers. Thanks to the token given by Tianyuan True Immortal, the 3 of them were arranged in a first-class luxurious cabin. Who? Li Feiyu watched as Lu Chongsheng boarded the spiritual vessel with a hint of being sentimentally attached. On one hand, a gathering of friends was now again parting for an unknown future meeting. Furthermore, Lu Changsheng's son and daughter had been taken in as disciples by Jianghu sect, causing him to travel great distances from by Lake Mountain to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, then on to Jianghu sect in Yu country. Yet, he himself had been away from home for over a decade, never once returning. I've rested enough on this trip, time to continue striving with effort. 3 years, whether I achieve foundation establishment or not, I should return for a visit. Li Feiyu muttered to himself, setting a time limit for himself. He then turned and left. He did not return to Azure Phoenix Immortal City but instead headed towards the direction of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Feiyu, I hope you won't need to use this talisman. Aboard the spiritual vessel, Lu Chongsheng seemed to see Li Feiyu heading to the Myriad Beasts mountain range and muttered in his heart. Through interactions over recent days, he could generally sense that his inevitable influence had affected Li Feiyu's mentality. This might cause Li Feiyu to be even more eager to break through to foundation establishment. That was why he gave Li Feiyu a first-order top-grade puppet today, indicating it was a sentiment of his heart. But within the core of the puppet, he had placed a 3rd-rank substitute talisman. As long as Li Feiyu installed a spirit stone in the puppet, he should be able to discover this talisman. This way, in the face of danger in the future, it could save his life. Changsheng, Lu Miaoge noticed Lu Changsheng's sentimentality due to the parting and showed a tender expression on her face, holding his hand silently to comfort him. "I'm fine. It's just that seeing Fei Yu in this situation has made me a bit emotional," Lu Changsheng said with a smile and a gentle voice. Not long after, the spiritual vessel embarked on its journey, flying toward Jinyang sect. Half a year more, and he'll be at Jinyang sect, able to see Qingshan and Qingzhu. Lu Changsheng looked out the window, mind wandering to what his son, Lu Qingshan, and his daughter, Lu Qingzhu, would look like now at Jinyang sect. Demonic sect. Inside a spacious hall that seemed to be constructed of obsidian stone. The entire hall's walls, the ground, and the ceiling were all smooth, without any decorative patterns or even windows or doors. Just at this moment, a young man with a cold face and snow-white hair, dressed in a black robe adorned with dragon patterns, appeared out of thin air in the center of the hall. Kikadamu Prachna Sami, the young man with white hair chanted indifferently. Buzz buzz buzz. At that instant, on the hall's walls, demonic creatures, ferocious and diverse in form, slowly emerged. Though merely patterns, they seemed vibrantly alive, as if about to step out from the walls, imposing an indescribable terror on those who beheld them. Boom boom boom, the entire hall started to shrink as the demons appeared. Endless crimson light surged within the hall as if accompanied by wailing sounds. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Chu Chang'e, faced with such tumult, stood unmoving, his luxurious dragon-patterned black robe and a head of snow-white hair flailing in disarray. The grand hall continued to shrink and compress, the blood light becoming ever more intense, pressing towards Chu Chang'e, making it seem as though he was shouldering a mountain, his body gradually bending. Chu Chang'e's expression remained unchanged, he held on steadfastly, the bones in his body creaking and crunching, with blood gradually trickling from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, at this moment, on the walls, one by one, the red light from unknown demon patterns flared, and threads of mist began converging towards Chu Chang'e. It surged in and out of his mouth and nose like two dragon pillars, exceedingly demonic. Crack. 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 Spurt. 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 As the grand hall grew smaller and smaller, Chu Chang'e's body seemed to become heavier, the bones in his body crackling chaotically, veins and blood vessels swelling like earthworms, dragon-patterned black robes bursting open with blood spattering. Humming humming humming, demon patterns on all sides lit up, roaring and hissing, turning into a mist of multicolored fog that swirled towards Chu Chang'e's flesh. These wounds immediately began to heal at a visibly rapid pace. But the process repeated itself, Chu Chang'e's body kept rupturing and healing, nearly turning into a bloodied figure, standing silently unmoved. If not for the constant chaotic crackling of his bones and the slight bending of his spine, he might have seemed dead. It was hard to tell how much time had passed, as the bloodied figure of Chu Chang'e seemed unable to bear the pressure and was nearly about to collapse. But just then, bizarre and unpredictable demon runes began to emerge on Chu Chang'e's body and face, accompanied by a horrifying aura as deep and unfathomable as an abyss. Instantly, he steadied his stance and stood up once again. Boom boom boom, however, the entire grand hall had shrunk to the size of a coffin, extremely cramped, squeezing in on Chu Chang'e as though it intended to crush him into a mush of blood and flesh. Demon patterns on the surrounding walls, the ground, and the ceiling seemed to come to life, watching Chu Chang'e, even reaching out with claws, tails, and tongues to bite and gnaw at him. At that moment, a blood-colored phantom with 3 heads and 6 arms slowly emerged behind Chu Chang'e. The phantom was vague, indistinct, partially hidden and partially visible. But as soon as the blood-colored phantom appeared, all the demon patterns ceased their movements and returned to the walls, emitting waves of hissing and emitting intense blood light. Boom boom boom, the grand hall kept shrinking and compressing, yet it was held open by the 3 heads and 6 arms of the blood-colored phantom. Amidst the endless press of blood light, Chu Chang'e's body continued to rupture open, blood flying in every direction, allowing a multitude of multicolored mists to enter his body. Upon closer observation, it could be seen that as more and more mist entered Chu Chang's body, the blood-colored phantom on his back became more defined. Although the three faces were still blurry and elusive, manifesting and vanishing unpredictably, one could barely make out expressions of ferocity, hatred, and indifference. Humming, it was unclear how much more time passed before a sinister crescent moon lotus pattern in a sanguine hue emerged on Chu Chang's forehead, and demon runes across his body seemed to come to life, slithering over his skin, muscles bulging, turning into black and red scales. His eyes gradually turned pitch black, showing no whites, and his white hair reached down to his heels, tinged with streaks of blood light. Roar, ao, whimper. At this moment, demon patterns in every direction within the grand hall roared and howled as if celebrating, chanting in jubilation. The entire grand hall, once as suffocating and constricting as a coffin, expanded once more, becoming spacious. Demonic body, Chu Chang'e murmured to himself. At this moment, he resembled a monster, his body covered in black and red scales, eyes dark as ink, exuding an evil and terrifying presence that sent chills to the core. The next moment, the scales on his body and the blood-colored phantom slowly dissipated, all converging into a black and red, bizarrely shaped crystal on his chest. A wave of rolling black mist, akin to a great serpent, surged forth. It transformed into a powerfully built man in black armor, his body covered in black demon runes, his facial features deeply etched with malevolence, a bald giant. Upon seeing the black and red crystal on Chu Chang's chest, he immediately kneeled on one knee and shouted loudly, "Congratulations, young master, on completing the trial and condensing the demonic body." Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 806, Heaven Replenishing Elixir, 5 Elements Fruit, a Reunion. Heh. Demonic Body. Chu Chang'e looked at the bald man in front of him, his pupils revealing a hint of sarcasm as he let out a sneer. He donned a black robe embroidered with dragon patterns anew and spoke in a low voice to He Chiu, "I need to make a trip to Jianghu country, prepare some things for me." "What does young master need to prepare?" The bald man clad in black armor, his body inscribed with demon runes, lifted his head with a face full of obsequiousness. Chu Chang'e pondered softly, Foundation Establishment Elixir, Lifespan Extension Pill, Heaven Replenishing Elixir, Dragon Scale Fruit, 5 Elements Spirit Fruit, Soul Nurturing Jade. After listing a pile of elixir medicines and heavenly and earthly treasures, he continued, "As for the Heaven Replenishing Elixir and the 5 Elements Spirit Fruit, I want all that we currently have." Hearing this, the bald man froze in place. Then he hesitated, "Young master, with your status, obtaining Foundation Establishment Elixirs and Lifespan Extension Pills is certainly no problem, you may have as many as you wish. But the Heaven Replenishing Elixir, Dragon Scale Fruit, and 5 Elements Spirit Fruit are extremely rare. Our sect's treasure vault also doesn't have many of these, so if young master needs them, you must obtain the ancient master's consent." He Chiu said so. "If that's the case, then go notify him." Chu Chang'e let out a light chuckle and said softly. As his voice fell, his figure vanished from the spacious and vast hall. Seeing this, He Chiu revealed a wry smile. Then, transforming into a roll of black fog, as sinuous as a dragon serpent, he arrived in front of a lofty and towering castle shrouded in mystery and depth. In front of the castle was a broad square. The square was surrounded by poles bearing black and red demon flags, as if figures of demon heads appeared faintly visible, creating a mysterious and dreadful momentum. "Sect Master, He Chiu requests an audience." He Chiu bowed and called out to the grand hall. Boom! The gates of the castle, tall enough to reach the heavens, slowly swung open. He Chiu entered the castle, and at the very top was a sinister black throne, with statues and patterns of demons on both sides. "Hey Chiu, what is it?" At that moment, a mysterious robed man with an ethereal face and figure appeared on the throne. His features were indistinct, yet he exuded an inexplicable aura of sharpness and majesty. Especially his deep black pupils seemed like they could penetrate everything. The young master has already condensed the demonic body and is preparing to make a trip to Jianghu country, and he needs, the bald man, clad in black armor with demon runes, his facial features deeply etched and fearsome, scratched his head and continued, "But the ancient master is still in closed-door cultivation. This is a matter of great importance, and I cannot make a decision on my own, so I had to come and ask you, sect master. Demonic body. How long has it been and he's already condensed the demonic body?" The man on the throne was visibly moved upon hearing this. These items he is preparing cannot be for his own use. Obviously, they are for someone else. His pale fingers tapped on the armrest as he murmured to himself, "It seems he has understood his destiny. But these heaven-replenishing elixirs and 5-element spirit fruits, give them to him." Just then, an aged and indifferent voice rang out. "Sar the Ovalfire." Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Suddenly, a youth dressed in a black robe appeared out of thin air in the hall. His jet-black hair was casually tied with a wooden pin, his appearance both handsome and exotic, exuding an air of time-worn experience that belied his age. "Greetings, ancient master." "Greetings, ancient master." Both the mysterious robed man on the throne and He Chiu bowed in salute upon seeing the youth. In at most 100 years, the ancestor of the Blood River sect will make his final bid by stirring up chaos, sacrificing the masses with blood, all in an attempt to achieve divinity transformation. My excellent disciple has condensed the demonic body in just 30 years. When the chaos begins, it will be the opportunity for his demonic body to reach great success, as well as for our demonic sect. His initiative in making such a request shows that he is already aware of his destiny. So let it be, just fulfill his wishes. The youthful ancient master spoke with a profound look in his eyes, his hands clasped behind his back. "Yes, ancient master." The man in the mysterious robe bowed and assented. He then inquired softly, "Ancient master, now that he knows his destiny, will he possibly, rest assured, my disciple is not one who easily submits to fate. Besides, his making such a request is already a clear statement," said the youthful ancient master with a soft chuckle. Then he looked towards the bald man. "When the time comes, accompany the young master, follow his arrangements throughout the journey, and meet any of his requests with your full effort. Understood? Ancient master, rest assured, your humble servant understands." The bald man grinned, his face full of sycophantic eagerness to please. "Ancient master, since ancestor of the Blood River sect is planning to stir up chaos, should our demonic sect begin preparations early?" The mysterious robed elder continued looking toward the youthful ancient master, inquiring respectfully. Naturally." The youthful ancient master smiled. "Before long, the Blood River sect will discuss the matter of forming an alliance. When the time comes, you can handle it as you see fit." Having spoken, his figure disappeared within the hall. "Farewell, ancient master." The mysterious robed man respectfully bade farewell, his gaze revealing a sliver of joy. His cultivation was finding it extremely difficult to advance further, to continue breaking through, a significant opportunity was essential. But such opportunities were exceedingly rare. Yet amidst chaos, tumult, and upheaval, came chances and opportunities. Half a year later. Outside the Jianghu marketplace. A spiritual vessel slowly descended and came to a halt. "Fellow Daoists, we have arrived at the Jianghu marketplace." A deep and resounding announcement spread throughout the vessel. Hearing this, Lu Chongsheng and his wife Lu Miaoge, along with Lu Miaohuan, stepped off the spiritual vessel. This trip on the spiritual vessel was said to head towards the Jianghu sect, but it was not a direct trip to the Jianghu sect. Instead, it stopped at the largest marketplace under the Jianghu sect's name. The three of them entered the marketplace, purchased a map of Yu country, and looked up the location of the Jinyang sect. From the Jinyang marketplace, it wasn't far to the Jinyang sect. It would only take about 2 or 3 days by driving the spirit boat. Immediately, Lu Chongsheng piloted the spirit boat, taking his wife Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan toward the Jinyang sect. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible.